at ziprecruiter.com/radio. With ZipRecruiter, one click sends your job to hundreds of top job sites. But more than that, ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies the candidates with the skills you need, sends you a list of great matches to review, then actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ziprecruiter.com/radio. That's ziprecruiter.com/radio. ziprecruiter.com/radio.
We're going abroad for the first time in years. To Spain.
But we don't speak Spanish.
So we started using Babel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks. Babel's conversational method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babel's interactive bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish.
Estoy muy emocionado para ir a España contigo.
Aw, he just said, I'm very excited to go to Spain with you. Nos vamos a divertir mucho.
And that means we're going to have a lot of fun.
Sí. Gracias, Babel.
Babel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babel for free at babbel.com. Just go to babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's babbel.com, BABBEL.com.
When it comes to concrete repair, Everlevel has some serious game. Coach Greg McDermott here to coach you on why you should choose Everlevel Concrete Repair. They've got the fundamentals to fix your cracked and uneven concrete, and their products will give you the best defense against future damage. It's a fraction of the price compared to replacement, and their solutions come with a long-term transferable warranty. Working with Everlevel is a slam dunk. Call Everlevel Concrete Repair today for your free inspection.
J-Tech Construction, the official exterior experts of the Huskers, offers exterior solutions that help you protect your number one investment. Whether it's roofing and siding or windows and doors, they're committed to excellence, quality, and outstanding customer service in every step of the process. When it's time to protect the exterior of your home, your choice is simple. Turn to who the Huskers turn to. J-Tech Construction. Check them out online and schedule a free estimate today. J-Tech Construction, the official exterior experts of the Huskers.
1620 The Zone.
Here's Martin. Clark, again coming off the screens. Clark steps back, fires. You bet! For 7-3 of the game. That will do it. This time, it's Iowa. The Hawkeyes are headed back to the Final Four. Galactic greatness from Caitlin Clark on display yet again.
You know, at the end of the day, you win, you lose. I feel like our group has given so much to this game and to this program that you can always hold your head high. But I think at the same time, that's the reason we have been able to play such good basketball is we don't want this to end, and we want to keep coming back and working hard with each other.
Becker's off the bounce, pulls up in the lane for 2. And in a late clock back, you let anybody but Paige Beckers catch it. 28 for Beckers. She's at her NCAA tournament average. 3 early season losses for the Huskies, who are proving that it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And UConn knocks out a number 1 seed to head back to the Final Four.
There's something about when you reach this particular game and you win this particular game, it may even be more emotional than winning a national championship game sometimes, because you know how hard it was to get here.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
I just got 3 things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your engine!
All right, welcome in everybody on a Tuesday. Thank God April Fool's Day is over. Some stuff you could believe yesterday, some stuff you could not believe. I almost wanted to think that Carson Wentz joining the Chiefs was a April Fool's joke.
Oh, I saw that and I smiled. I thought of you.
I just asked you guys. I thought the general manager here, she likes to have meetings. A lot of meetings. A lot of things that could be solved with emails. But a lot of meetings. She likes to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
She sent an email yesterday about doing something outside later in the afternoon. I thought that was an April Fool's joke. You guys just told me that it's not.
I would have bought that it was. Jimmy is confirming that it was not.
Well, there was a lot of stuff. People were wondering, people going to the transfer portal, if that was an April Fool's joke. I don't know. And I said yesterday, I think
transfer portal. If you go to the transfer portal on April 1st,
like you have to kind of you have to read the room.
Yeah, you're like,
so
are you serious?
You're wondering, okay, what is real or not? Now, I have said that April Fool's Day has jumped the shark, and there's a lot of stuff out there that is fake news, and it doesn't matter if it's April 1 or April 2nd. But yesterday, so I've come to the conclusion this morning driving in the lovely hamlet of Omaha, Nebraska, with a little rain falling, is I don't know if this is a baseball thing or just a big night of women's hoops. But do you guys realize that there was a no-hitter thrown in the majors last night?
Yeah.
Now, Jimmy does because it was his team.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe I'm telling you for the first time.
Yeah, well, I did see they won.
Yeah, they threw a no-hitter. It's kind of a big deal. It's
just shows you where I'm at after 0-4 over the weekend.
Hey, I know there have been 300 plus no-hitters thrown in Major League Baseball, and last night was 323. I was listening to a sports show on satellite radio driving in, and they were doing an update. And of course, they're going to lead with women's basketball because we had back-to-back bangers last night in Albany, which caught some strays, and then Portland, where we get Iowa and UConn are playing in the Final Four in Cleveland coming up on Friday. So the update person is going through, and they're telling you all the exploits of Caitlin Clark and what Iowa did, and then how UConn and USC came down to the final couple of minutes, and Paige Beckers and Juju Watkins put on a heck of a show, and they're waxing poetic about women's basketball, which they should because it dominated the stage last night. And I think the Iowa LSU game will do somewhere in the range of 9 million. And then they go to an NFL story, and that's it. They end the update.
Really?
And I was like, there was a no-hitter thrown in baseball last night. Not like a combined no-hitter,
right?
But a true
legitimate
no-hitter.
Walk no-hitter.
Now, I think that's a little, and I think that's a little bit of oh man, women's basketball had a really, really good day yesterday. Also, it might be baseball.
That's what I take it for.
That's a little bit rough. Early in the year, the 1st of April, people aren't, unless you're a diehard, you aren't paying attention to baseball. But the man threw a no-hitter last night by himself. Well, he had 8 other guys in the field, and he got no run on this national show. And I'm like, Manfred, we probably have to have some speaks today, and you might want to figure out a way to have Caitlin Clark throw out the first pitch at all 30 ballparks in Major League Baseball
and all 7 World Series games.
Then you get your headline. Yeah, that was. I guess if it happens on opening day, it gets obviously a lot of run.
The man threw a no-hitter. The man 8 years ago was working at a car wash. His name is Ronel Blanco. He was working at a car wash 8 years ago, and he threw a no-hitter in the majors last night, and it went like zip.
Hey, so what, 30, and it's his 8th career start.
Yeah, well, baseball's in a rough spot.
No one else on that team is pitching well. So,
but last night, so we all watched. Also, there's certain moments where you go, man, women's college basketball has arrived. The numbers are up. There's characters. The WWE is writing the script on a nightly basis.
It was enjoyable watch.
You also get back in my day. I saw Bob Ryan tweet out, well, back in my day, there was Don Staley and Lisa Leslie. Okay. That's another
Don Staley.
That's another thing of, hey, all right, the sport has arrived. But watching LSU and Iowa last night, which, as you know by now, Iowa won. And so they're on to the Final Four for the second straight year. The thing, and there's a lot to talk about, Caitlin Clark and her night last night, which was just a casual 41, 7-12?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? In the history of the NBA, there have only been 2 people that have scored at least 37, have done a 37, 7 and 10 with 9 3-pointers. James Harden's done it twice. Curry's done it one time. Caitlin Clark did that last night in a game to go to the Final Four. The one thing I can appreciate about her game, and there's a lot to appreciate, and there's also a lot to, my God, just play the friggin' game. Stop officiating. If you want to officiate, wear stripes. Is she always delivers.
Yes, she does.
There is no doubt that when the spotlight is on and you pay good money to travel and go watch Iowa women play, and specifically for Caitlin Clark, which then opens the door. They go, oh, Kate Martin's pretty good. Gabby Marshall's got a little extra.
Yeah.
Is Caitlin Clark always delivers. And I think there is something to be said about a star who always meets the moment. And she always meets the moment. Now, it might be the prettiest. She might take 400 shots to get to 31 points, but she always meets the moment in big stages. And I can appreciate that. I mean, as a high-level competitor, when you see somebody do that night after night, because we talk about, hey, the Stars didn't show up. They lost. I mean,
yeah.
Talk
about Creighton.
She shows up every single time. And I think that's a subtle part of what makes her so good.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And not even last night, but even going all the way back to the significance from a team standpoint wasn't as significant as last night, but from an individual standpoint, when you knew you had all the eyeballs watching you against Michigan when you're trying to beat Kelsey Plum's record, she does it right out of the gate too. That's the thing, is last night where you're thinking, okay, how's this going to go? The build up, and it's probably going to take her a little bit, or maybe take both teams a little bit to kind of ease into it. And yeah, she just right out of the gate, she's just bombing away. Same thing in that Michigan game when she's going after the record. It's right out of the gate. She's knocking down 3 after 3. There's no cold spell. Now, it's kind of interesting. As I mentioned that, I'm thinking of when they played Nebraska in Lincoln, and she was off to a pretty decent start, but then it was the fourth is where she trailed off. But that's when I think of what you said there, I immediately think of the types of starts she gets off to in those types of games too, where everybody knows. It's kind of like how I compare, football having the scripted plays. Everybody knows, though, when you're scouting that team, what the type of sets that they're going to try to design for her, and you defend her as best you can. But you essentially have to, once you cross midcourt, you essentially have to defend her because everything is within her range. And it's amazing to me, even last night, that you have a team and a coaching staff, say what you will about Kim Mulkey. She knows basketball. Her staff knows basketball. They're going to do whatever they can to neutralize. You're not going to shut her down. You're not going to completely eliminate her, but try to make life tough on her. And you still can't. And right out of the gate, she's already a factor. I mean, seconds into the game, she's already a factor. And you've seen a lot of those big games in the Big Ten championship game. Same thing. She's a factor right out of the gate. Like that to me also takes what you said to another level, where she sets the tone regardless of what she's going to do and how you're going to try to stop it. Because you think eventually good players are going to figure out ways to score, even if you're doing a good job of defending them early on. They're trying to do their best to defend her early on, and she's still finding ways to score.
What that was like last night? So, there's the first half was unbelievable. I mean, everybody was gassed. You were probably gassed watching the game. But it was like UNLV Duke 90-91.
Mm-hmm.
Like UNLV beat Duke championship, and it's like Duke waited all year to get their revenge. I mean, what she did last night after losing the championship game last year and the performance that she put on, that's like John Wick level stuff in the revenge game. I mean, for going for 41, 7, and 12 and putting your team back in the Final Four, she's a classic. And that game was, for the most part, lived up to the hype. That's another thing of why that game last night, that moment, and also if you stuck around, the finale in Portland was a pretty good game as well, but it had a lot of difficulty leading up to that. Is I can appreciate one, like I just said, if somebody meets the moment on a continuous basis that is a star, and they're in our sports society, they're pretty well known. Mm-hmm. You can rattle them off, boom, 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 boom. But then a game that lives up to the hype, like everybody plays their role. Yeah. They're really, really good, and they play at a level that you are jaw-dropping, whether it be men or women. You go, wow, How can you do this? And last night was a classic. It was a pleasure to watch. She's a pleasure to watch, but she also is somebody who I think has captured the sports world, men or women, because you have emotions about her. That's if somebody appears on your screen, Kim Mulkey, we have emotions about her. Caitlin Clark, we have emotions about her, good and bad. Look at Dan Hurley. We have emotions about him. We have emotions about people that were in that game last night. Angel Reese, definitely. People have emotions about Angel Reese. Y'all crazy. Man, she's an unbelievable player that got screwed on her fifth foul in that game. But you have emotions. So that's the one thing that I think women's basketball has been able to accomplish with the talent that they have in the game right now. They have plenty of athletes and coaches that draw emotions. Look at Iowa, UConn in the semifinal. You have a player that draws emotions, and you have a coach that draws emotions, good or bad. You can't write a better script for what's been going on in women's basketball. And last night was like not the last chapter, but it was like maybe the most juicy chapter.
Yeah, and I think a lot of why some people tuned in is remembering that national championship game is the trash talking that was going back and forth. And so if you were staying with that game to the very end, you'll realize the last minute probably ran close to 20 minutes. It would not stop because we're trying to get Reese to bed, but I wanted to see the handshakes. I just wanted to see all of the extracurriculars.
You like the narrative stuff.
Yeah,
I know.
You want to kind of see, but you want to kind of see what is
fight.
Yeah, I'm not.
You wanted to
fight.
You wanted. I think you might have been. You're a guy that I think was disappointed last night.
I wanted to see if Caitlin Clark was going to throw the John Cena back at it.
I think you were a guy that last night you were disappointed in that game because there were no theatrics.
No, actually, I was impressed by that.
No, but you wanted it. I think you're a theatric guy.
Sure.
I think you get a little interesting in your life and you go, whoa, this is new.
Kevin McHale,
Let's go
Kurt
after it.
Rambis.
I don't think I'm any different than a lot of people that not only wanted to see a great basketball game with some great players involved and everything that we've already known about these two teams. Yeah. I wanted to see some trash talk, and I wanted to see a little bit of that.
Yeah. Before, I was like, okay, I'm sure we'll get a little bit.
Yeah.
I was more impressed that, one, the officiating actually was okay.
Until that sequence of the fifth foul.
The reason the Stolke fouls late were kind of, but the officiating was okay.
Yep.
It wasn't not, it just wasn't an
It
abomination.
was so good that they actually had to make mention of it in the broadcast twice.
But the other thing that I appreciated about last night's game is there really were no theatrics. They just played basketball.
Yep. And at the end of the day,
I'm sure there's some people were like, man, that's what I tuned in for. Well, I kind of tuned in for some high-level basketball, and I got Caitlin Clark going against Angel Reese, and then mix in a little bit of Johnson. I went for Clark and Reese, and Flo J jumped into my picture, and I'm like, God, she's good.
Well, and you mentioned Martin, too. All of a sudden, look at, she's the recipient of some great Caitlin Clark passes, but then all of a sudden she's making some nice baseline jumpers when LSU seemed to be clawing back a little bit there too. But back to the emotion and the extracurriculars, because I just wanted to see how.
You want a little excitement in your life. I get it. Go ahead and say it. You're looking for a little excitement.
Malice at the Palace.
I wanted to see how long of a embrace maybe Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark had, because there was a lot of respect between the two of them leading into the game. So you want to see how long that is. Maybe
are you expecting like just a slugger?
No, not anything physical. I just wanted to see if it was just a good game, or if there was a brief stop and they're talking to each other for a little bit. Because as a year ago, that wasn't controversial what Angel Reese was doing. She was talking trash, which was great. I loved it, but people made such a big deal of it. I wanted to see, because everyone just assumed that these two hate each other. And they've made it pretty clear leading into this game that that's not the case at all, that they have nothing but respect for each other and the fact they're competitors, whatever. But just little things like that on how everybody interacted after the game. I wasn't expecting anything that was going to be like an altercation. I just wanted to see that. It was just interesting to me. But I will say this about the emotion. You brought up how everyone really just kind of played ball. And you brought up Caitlin Clark quit being an official, which I don't think you're ever going to take that out of her. But I will say this compared to some of the other games.
After every game, I'm like, dang, that was a really impressive shot, but stop being an official.
But did you notice at least I did, that in some of those games previously in the tournament, it would go from palms up to sort of stomping after the official or looking at the bench and continued it on. She nipped it in the bud. As soon as she kind of, and then all of a sudden, it was almost like she had to remind herself, I'm not doing this, especially not tonight, because I think LSU sort of sees that. Those players kind of see that. They're like, okay, she's starting to get a little unraveled a little bit. Let's try to take advantage. I thought she did a fantastic job of cutting that off right as soon as those emotions came up. And I'll give the same for Angel Reese, too. Other than the occasional block shots and just, again, your typical getting fired up, trying to get your team fired up, there was none of that, which it just made for a very enjoyable watch.
That's what I'm sorry you were disappointed. You wanted the lady that was promoting the Masters to come on the floor and get a technical.
Yeah, that's true. Now if
she takes the biggest L of last night, huge L for Kim Mulkey.
No, that was very disappointing because there were so many different outfits, and then she goes with Masters green.
I'm not. She could have been wearing jeans and a polo. Coaching matters. Okay, coaching matters.
But I do want to go back to something real quick on the tune-in element of if it went the other way. Like, again, there were some good block shots by Angel Reese. There were moments in that game where bodies are colliding a little bit, and nobody really got into it at all. If, say, during a block shot, Angel Reese maybe looks back at one of the Iowa players that she blocked her shot or does a stare down, yeah, I would have been okay with that. I would have been fine with that.
Oh, they talked.
I mean, they
talked. It was not like choir girls.
No,
They played how they normally play with a lot of emotion.
It wasn't extended. There wasn't anything that went beyond the normal realm of competitors.
I think it was normal. I think normal that stuff was going on. I mean,
but it didn't.
That's in the heat of the battle. The sports are emotion, show emotion. You're right. There's a point where you step over the line.
Yeah,
and that never got to that point. But you can't say that there were not emotion last night and some trash talking.
No, there was.
Angel Reese would be blocking shots into the fourth row to those unfortunate people that have to wake up in Albany, New York every single day, according to Rebecca Lobo. That she let it. Sports are emotion. Gosh dang it, man. We got to stop handcuffing emotion in sports. Yeah, there's some knuckleheads that go way too far and they get what they deserve because karma's a bitch. But sports are emotion. It's okay. I don't care if you're a man, woman, or you're both to have emotion in the game.
Yeah, and it was normal.
And I'm fine with it.
I thought it was normal. It was all in all, it was exactly what you want to see in a high-level game. Whether we're talking about men's basketball or women's basketball, there was that normal emotion, everything that you would want to see, that you kind of expected to see, that didn't have the extracurriculars that maybe some people thought would exist. I was curious if it would or not.
It met the benchmarks of having stars, having two high-level teams going at each other, just competitors, and then intensity. I mean, I will tell you, there's something about the women's tournament that is a little bit different from the men's. And it seems like every single women's game. Now, we've had some good games here and there in the men's tournament, but it seems like every single women's game is just full of intensity. Nonstop intensity for 40 minutes.
I'd agree. And even the nightcap last night had exactly the same thing with UConn and USC. So this is another thing about where the sport is. And it's not like that didn't exist before, but we're all now getting a front row seat to it. There have been things about this game that have drawn even your average sports fans' eyeballs to it, and you're seeing how this game has evolved. But more than anything, I think the players know that too. I think they understand the type of audience that they have. I think you'd be kidding yourself if you didn't think that it doesn't have an impact on how these games are playing out. Not saying that, before they had an audience, they just kind of went through the motions. But I think now they know the types of stage, the amount of butts that are in seats, even in conference tournament games, that now you're seeing in all of these must-see games like yesterday and on Sunday. All of that matters, I think, to the way that this game continues to grab so much positive attention and how it's being played, how it's being covered, that there's more genuine interest in it. And Yeah, a lot of it has to do with the individual superstars that draw you in, but then you can appreciate everything that's around them as well. You need something to hook you.
Yeah, we wouldn't. The stars draw you in.
Absolutely, they do.
Look at volleyball.
Mhm.
Volleyball is played at a high level. Volleyball doesn't have a Caitlin Clark, a Paige Beckers, a Angel Reese, Juju Watkins that is well known in households.
No, you're right.
They don't. They don't. They also, the time of the year, they're going up against college football and the NFL. Volleyball is at a high level. They don't have the stars. The stars drew you in.
Yep.
If it's just LSU Iowa playing last night, we're not talking about 9 million people. They have stars. They have stars that are really good. That's the other thing. They have stars that meet the moment every single time, and you turn off the TV and you go, man, that was a pleasure to watch.
Yep.
And that was last night. That was 2 games of high-level college basketball, men or women, that was played, and it will do monster numbers. It will do big numbers, and I'm sure that the Iowa-UConn game, which will be the late game in Cleveland. How would you like to go from Albany to Cleveland?
Sounds great and cold. Kind of like here today.
It's kind of like going from Pittsburgh to Detroit.
Beautiful. Flannel.
I don't know. I would put Pittsburgh over Albany.
Although you're high on Pittsburgh. I actually like Pittsburgh. I feel like everyone was doing Pittsburgh dirty though.
Pretty ballpark.
A lot of people were doing. I've only been there for one weekend, but a lot of people were doing Pittsburgh dirty.
Good people.
But look at Friday night. So you're going to have UConn and Iowa playing on the women's side. That'll do another monster number. But what are the TV ratings? They'll be out probably early this afternoon.
Yep.
They'll be good. I watched.
I'll be curious.
Jimmy watched.
Raise your hand. I wonder. I wonder how much of a carryover there was to the second game.
That's a good question. Yeah. And remember, like I was saying about the end of the Iowa LSU game, it drug for a while. You knew Iowa was going to win, but then there'd be a 3-pointer. Then you had to take a timeout here. It took a while to finally reach its finale that I think people already knew the outcome of it. And so at that point, were you, okay, let's get this over so I can watch the next game? Or were you, all right, I'm good. Yeah, I'd be curious to see what the evening number and the carryover was. It was great to have those two teams. I'm glad it was on the East Coast so you could have that game on the earlier part of it. But yeah, I'll be curious to know what USC and UConn were able to draw there.
All right, a couple of tweets here on last night's game. Let's start with Lakey J. Congratulations, Kate Len. But why was HVL on her almost the whole game and not Johnson? That was complete coaching malpractice by Kim Mulkey. I was screaming in the first quarter. I bet he was. I bet he had money on this game. It was so bad. Coaching matters. Kim Mulkey did a terrible job coaching. Now, there are some times where like you're trying to design something to stop Caitlin Clark and she's making 26, 27-foot shots and there's nothing you can do. But they did, putting Van Lith, who was sick, by the way, who was ill, and they put her on Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, of all players.
That is a major mistake. They didn't change up their defense until about 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter when they finally had Johnson guarding Clark, and she was already into foul trouble. But they were going, I mean, the way they handled the screen game, I think LSU, and again, coaching matters. Kim Mulkey takes the biggest L from last night with her decision-making in game, is their offense stalled. They stopped getting the ball inside.
Yeah.
Also, I think they thought they were just going to outscore Iowa. Like, not, hey, let's try and figure out a way to stop the other 4 on the floor that are not wearing 22. I think they just thought they were going to outscore them. And you know what? They got the first half 45-45, and they hit the wall. They absolutely hit the wall.
Yeah, especially
they stopped going inside to Angel Reese. She's screaming for the basketball. They won't throw it inside. I thought it was a very, very poor night of coaching that exposed Kim Mulkey. Iowa JD says was possibly the worst transfer in college basketball being Van Lith going to LSU. She is a shell of herself that she was at Louisville. She had a rough year. Like, she was a major trash talker last year when Louisville and Iowa played. She got after Caitlin Clark, and she was a really, really good player. Her role is different on that team, and she hasn't looked the same all season long. But I know they immediately said she was sick after. Like, she didn't bring it up. Someone said that she was ill. Okay, so why have her guard Caitlin Clark? You think Caitlin Clark's going to have an off night and maybe go for 10, 6, and 4? And you're just going to roll the dice?
Yeah, we're just going to have one of those very rare nights there. Well, and I think back to when LSU beat Iowa in the national championship game, and I get it, especially Iowa. You had some different components, but you still had Caitlin Clark. Remember
you had Marks though. I mean, that was a shutdown.
Yeah,
person they had on the roster last year.
But the ridiculous amount of threes that LSU hit in that game too. Yeah, to your point of thinking you're just going to outscore them, didn't have the firepower to do that at least last night. Because I think of that third quarter, especially when you said run out of gas. They had nothing in the third quarter. I mean, that's where Iowa was able to blow it open. And then at that point, you're just kind of keeping them at arm's length. It was between not hitting shots, the shot selection, just settling. Yeah, it was sloppy in the third. So to me, that's probably where the difference was. That's where this game got away from LSU. I look back at that game. Other than the first half, once probably even midway through the third, it didn't seem like there was any way LSU was coming back. And they would hit a shot. They would bring it with a 9. And this is why I bring up Martin, because everything is going to be on Caitlin Clark, and she facilitates it even when she's not scoring. But that was kind of an unsung hero there in the second half too, where, okay, then they make it a single-digit game, LSU would, and then Martin would hit a big shot. And, you started to see some players kind of getting involved too. So it was just a good look for Iowa altogether. I thought, from the standpoint of, you talk about the coaching matchup there, I think maybe doesn't get discussed enough, but the role players that complement Caitlin Clark, I think you got to, for people who haven't had a chance to see that, you got a chance to see that last night.
I think Lisa Bluter said we have to cut this post-game celebration short because we got a flight to catch.
It's NCAA protocol. Who got the podium first?
I don't know. Angel Reese had some things to say after the game.
Yeah.
Maybe her most impressive thing she did last night was putting a contact back in without a mirror.
Yeah. Okay. So my wife even said that too. And so you used to wear contacts, right?
Yep.
Did you ever do this? I've never done this. My wife apparently has, where I've had to put in the dry contact before, and it's the worst.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it fell to the floor or not, because then you're getting crap from the actual court. But she said, "Oh, you've never had to lick a contact and put it in?" No. She's like, "Oh yeah,
I've done that one."
Yeah, she said, "Oh yeah, I used to do that all the time."
I've
Did
licked
you?
a lot of things, but not contacts.
Well, because you can't put a dry contact in your eye.
I just did, and it actually happened in basketball when I was younger. I did, and then when I got taken out, I immediately went and got solution. So I think my eye was probably beet red. But yeah, I didn't know that was a thing.
Hardcore.
And I don't think she did that.
I don't know. Maybe once in my life when I was wearing contacts, did I ever put one in without looking in the mirror?
But then he went to Kugler vision.
I can do it without looking in the mirror now. I've been wearing contacts since I was a freshman in high school.
I'm sure I could do it. I did not feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that I don't wear contacts. Thank you, Kugler Vision.
When you see, there you go.
Yeah.
When you put it in dry though, and I think Lobo mentioned it too. That's John Wayne stuff right there. That ain't easy.
You don't want to put anything.
That's not
dry.
fun.
Kudos to everybody that's ever worn contacts. When you first start wearing contacts and you have to try and put that, and you're basically poking your eyeball.
It took me like an hour.
Yeah,
It took me years to finally switch.
It is one of it's one of the life's great accomplishments that I was able
really
to put
is.
contacts in both eyes for. I wore contacts for like 18, 20 years.
How? Okay, so
I was in 8th grade when I got.
Okay,
well,
so you're
because
in
I
8th
used to
grade.
wear glasses.
Yes, me too.
And playing sports, my peripheral vision wasn't very good.
You couldn't be James Worthy out there.
Yeah, so I said, "Can we try contacts?" And so when I was in 8th grade, man, those contacts were a little bit rough.
Yeah,
it was.
I feel you.
Tough. And then you'd sleep in them.
Yeah,
and they were supposed to be daily wear, and the next thing you know,
they're monthly.
You'd get asked about, "Hey, your contacts." I'm like, "Oh, dang, I've had them in for like 5 days."
Yep.
Yeah.
I
But if
still
you're
do
able to
that.
accomplish putting in a contact lens, good on you, because that is one of the small accomplishments in life that should be rewarded.
It's kind of disgusting too. And this happens every now and then. You kind of mess with your eye, and the contact like slides inside.
Yeah.
And so it's something's going on because you can feel like your eye's got something going on. You touch your eyeball and the contact's not there, and it actually doesn't like make you go, "Ah!"
Yeah.
Like that's when you know you've been wearing contacts too long, when you can touch a contactless part of your eye and it actually doesn't hurt that bad, or it's not uncomfortable. It's been too long. I need to get freaking LASIK.
The lineup for the show.
Yeah, I've heard that.
We can see clearly. Sometimes referees cannot. The lineup brought to you by the referees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
I just spit stuff.
Shout out Kip Kissinger, who'll be working the national championship game Monday night.
Nice.
He is back in the Final Four. Man, there's a guy that could shoot it. He was a baller in high school, then in college. Sam McEwen stops by at 7:30. Rob Childress, a little game downtown. The weather forecast for tonight has gotten worse.
Yeah, it's weird. It's going to be windy as hell. It's still going to be like mid 50s, but it's going to. I think the wind actually goes up.
I thought I just saw like 46 and rain at first pitch.
Be like Wrigley.
Oh, at first pitch. Okay, maybe that high at 55 dissipates pretty fast.
Maybe in the press box it'll be 55 with a little heater going.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he had like 46 down to like 43.
Yeah,
super.
But Rob Childress, regardless. Nebraska and Creighton are playing tonight downtown. Rob Childress will join us coming up 8:30. You may have heard of him before. Brian Christopherson and Andy Kendi all will stop by. Good lineup on a Tuesday morning, the 2nd of April. It's brought to you by the referees at John Higgins Weather Guard. You have thoughts on last night? Also, the portal. The portal giveth and the portal taketh away. My opinion changed about 8 years ago on the portal. I accept that it's part of the process now. But the emotion that a singular individual going into the portal does to a fan base is quite fascinating. Not all portals are created equal, but Nebraska and Creighton basketball had some portal activity yesterday, and there will be some portal activity today. If you'd like to chat and share your emotions, whether about Caitlin Clark, Gino Auriemma. By the way, we get Caitlin and Paige against each other in the Final Four. You can always do that on the 42-degree The Source by your mom's house hotline, 951-1620, or in the Equitable Bank inbox. Can't wait for Doug's first email of the morning. Let me just double check here.
Not yet.
Where they take banking personally. Gary at 1620thezone.com.
Handley at 1620thezone.com. What am I looking at?
Man sentenced for ramming a cruiser. Sentenced to 7 years in prison. His name's Clay Dickinson. And he is
like Post Malone.
His face is a walking billboard. The J-Tech Construction Zone Twitter feed, where Nick will share the picture about Mr. Dickinson.
I will.
Not Hunter.
Nope. Boy, if that's Hunter, man. that early exit in the NCAA tournament, it's
high expectations.
No
that guy has an NIL deal on his face. At Gary Sharp 1620
and Nick Handley 1620.
All right, we're off and running. Think about this because Caitlin Clark is one of them. You only have 3 to choose from. Must-see athletes, or I'll say must-watch. Must-watch athletes right now in our sportsdom. Caitlin Clark is one. You only get 3. Who are the other 2? And maybe you say Caitlin Clark is not. Maybe you're an Iowa State fan. Or you are sticking hard to Big Ten protocol.
See what you did.
This is the Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. Remember, no matter how you listen, it's still AM radio. 1620 The Zone.
Watching a ball game at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is pretty awesome. Oscar's offers the MLB package, so your team is always on their upgraded audio-video system, and nothing is better than watching the game with a cold frosty one, Oscar's Pizza, or award-winning char-buffed wings. And with daily lunch and dinner specials, it's really a no-brainer. So get ready to watch your favorite team play ball at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, 173rd and West Center Road, and takeout at 162nd and Maple.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
I believe every child can succeed. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. Research shows that children do a better job in school when parents are supportive. In Nebraska, parents have a long tradition of being involved in our public schools. That's one reason our students consistently score in the top 10 on national tests. Working together, we can help every child succeed.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association in this station.
Host is roasting every morning. Host is roasting every day.
Put your coffee department in good hands with Host Coffee Service, providing direct delivery and loaned coffee equipment with service programs. If you're ready to change to a better coffee provider, it's time for Host Coffee.
Omaha's best coffee, since 1972. Post Coffee is always roasting something good for you.
When I heard the words, "you have breast cancer," I said, I have no idea what I'm going to do. My OBGYN called me and said, I know exactly what we're going to do, which led me to Nebraska Cancer Specialists. From day one, I felt that I was at the right place. There were some pretty rough times, but together we are stronger and they are there for you. You do not feel that you are alone. Nebraska-Cancer.com.
Small business owners, we know tackling your to-do list can sometimes feel like going 12 rounds against a heavyweight champ. Except that heavyweight's gloves are made of something hard, like diamonds. So when a new to-do pops up, you're like, I can't. I'm boxing my diamond boxing glove wearing heavyweight champ of a to-do list. At Progressive, we don't want to make your day any harder. That's why we make it easy with over 30 customizable coverage options, so you can finally land a knockout blow. See if you can save on business insurance in as little as 6 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers.
Getting your biggest tax refund from Jackson Hewitt can lead to some spirited reactions.
Jackson Hewitt!
Jackson Hewitt is so sure they'll get you your biggest refund that if they don't, you get your money back plus $100.
Jackson Hewitt!
Switch to Jackson Hewitt and we'll beat what you paid last year, even if you filed online. Ain't nothing to it. Switch to Jackson Hewitt and pay less for tax prep, guaranteed. Proof of prior year payment required when filing. New clients only at participating locations through April 7th. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
Do you like to shoot fireworks? Would you like to get paid to shoot fireworks? J&M Displays wants you. Help shoot an Omaha Storm Chasers game, Memorial Park display, or any of the major shows in Western Iowa and all of Nebraska. If you like to travel, J&M covers Nebraska, Kansas, and most of Missouri. They offer free training and great daily pay rates, which makes it a perfect part-time job. Visit jnmdisplays.com and click the Join Our Team tab to find out more. J&M Fireworks.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Poll question was Kim Mulkey's decision to leave Haley Van Lith on Caitlin Clark majority of the night worse than anything that was in the Washington Post?
Yeah. It's actually a good call. Yes, it was.
All right, welcome back in. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. It is a Tuesday morning. Sam McEwen's coming up in the next hour. Rob Childress stops by. Nebraska-Creighton play tonight. The best combined winning percentage in a Nebraska-Creighton game since 2005. Only the third time that Creighton and Nebraska combined record have been over 800 in the winning percentage. They're combined 40-9. Should be a good one tonight. The weather, I'll talk to my man Al Roker about that. But we'll talk to Coach Childress coming up at 8:30. We talk to Michigan Lance right now on the 42-degree The Source hotline. Good morning.
Man, you guys sound just like my wife and sister-in-law. Man, they were eating up.
Smart people.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Man, talking about leaving Van Lith on.
Oh, it was horrible, Lance. Why would you do that to her?
Oh, that poor girl. But here's the thing, though. We know Caitlin is going to get hers. So I don't know if – I know what you're saying. It should have been switched up more. I do agree with that. I don't know if Flaugier, I don't know if that her foul trouble might have hurt. She might have covered her a little bit more if she wasn't in foul trouble. I mean, we don't know. But the thing is about, you know, Caitlin's doing her best impression of Danny and the Miracles. You know, it's her and the Miracles. Like, the Miracles stepped up. Like, the others stepped, and they've probably been stepping up all year. I don't know. I haven't watched enough Iowa games. Obviously, I've heard and seen Caitlin Clark, but as far as the team, I don't know. But so they rose to the occasion. They were cutting without, you know, they were getting easy baskets for themselves. She was giving them easy, you know, assists to get buckets. So we all know what Caitlin's going to do. It's the other people who are the stars the last night that stepped up in a big moment and helped carry them, you know, to the Final Four because, you know, everybody knows you can't do it alone. And it's just exciting to watch some good basketball from the women's, you know what I mean? Like, this reminds me of the 90s, 80s and 90s college basketball, the men's side. You know, we haven't had this good of basketball and stars and teams, you know, since that era. And I'm not talking about 90s NBA. That was horrible. People think that was, people romanticize
We've had
that.
this discussion before.
It was not as good as people remember it. So, but college though at that time, hey man, this is that women's. You know, I watched both games to the end, and they're and the Elite Eights the other day, and it's just good to watch some good basketball, stars stepping up, you know, like they're supposed to because they're stars. You know, like I said, Paige Bookers, I mentioned her the other day. Like, she's like, hey, don't forget about me over here. Like, you know, South Carolina's being South. So it's good for the sport. You know, everybody's kind of saying, you know, Caitlin's carrying it, and that sounds good. But, you know, women's basketball has been on the rise the last couple of years. Has it just been her? And so now, it does it help for her? Yes. To take it to another level, most definitely. And but as you see this weekend, there's other schools, there's other teams, there's other players that are going to carry this sport on, and it'll be okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, isn't it interesting that, you know, last night was a showcase for Iowa, LSU, UConn, and USC. The most dominant team is South Carolina, and you hardly hear anybody talk about South Carolina outside of how great Don Staley is.
Right. Yep.
That's wild.
Yep. And they have a real, like, I was hard on Dawn the last couple of years because some of her in-game coaching as well. Hey, man, to reconstruct her team, to understand, to get better, because the last couple of years they haven't had any perimeter shooting, and to come back this year and have that dual threat of inside and outside, like, I got to give her credit for that, man. That's way to adjust and make your team better, your whole team, not just only counting on the inside out, you know what I mean? She got some players, man, and she got some players that have a different look in their eye that you've seen all year. You know, LSU was still kind of shaky. It just something wasn't there all the way all year. I watched them more this year, and so, but with South Carolina, man, it's a different look, and not only the starters but her bench players. When they come in, man, they don't miss a beat, and they're like, "Hey, we're here too." You know what I mean? It's like she has like 8-9 starters. You know what I mean? Like they don't drop off, and sometimes they lull themselves to sleep because it's too easy, but they're well in control of these games.
Yeah, I agree. I think that'll be a nice matchup with North Carolina State, but I'd love to see them against UConn or Iowa. That'd be fun. That'd be the next.
I think that's what's going to happen. I think NC State. Hey, how about the boys NC State? How about nobody calling them a Cinderella? Like, they're a double-digit seed with 14 losses. I know they play in the ACC, but that's the Cinderella guy.
And they got DJ Burns.
Okay, so hold on here. So do you think the only hesitation about calling North Carolina State a Cinderella is because they're from a Power 6 conference?
Yes, I think so. Agreed. But they have 14 losses.
I know.
Like, these guys that's a Cinderella. These guys weren't good all year. Like, they did what March Madness does. They got hot in the ACC tournament and then got hot in this tournament.
Hey, so let me
isn't a good basketball team.
We're up against the top, but I want to ask you a quick question because I'm glad you brought up North Carolina State and their Cinderella, because there's a lot of comparisons to their run in '83 when they won the national championship with Low Charles and Wittenberg and Sidney Lowe, and then of course Jimmy V. Is being called a Cinderella? Why is that? Why is that such a hotly debated topic the last 2 days? Why are we getting pushback if we call North Carolina State a Cinderella? I just asked you and you agreed about them being a Power 6, but why are we so afraid of that word?
Yeah, maybe it's because you're diminishing it. Maybe because they feel like a Power 6 should never be a Cinderella. And it's like, but the thing is, though, they're not a consistently good, dominant program. And so if they hang out mostly at the bottom of the ACC and then they come out and have a run like this, over the course of a decade plus or so, you know what I mean? Like, in their history, like, they're a Cinderella. Like, they're not consistently good. And so, I mean, you got 14 I think people don't want to diminish, they're trying to hold up the ACC because it's barely hanging on from football. And so I think they're trying to hold on to ACC basketball, which isn't the same either when we were, 80s, 90s, 2000s. So the ACC is trying to hang on to something that they're at the top at, or they feel they're still at the top at. They're a blue blood conference in basketball. So I think that's what it's about is, hey, we can't knock down our people in this conference because we want to be seen as a big time conference, and if conference are colluding to come together, they don't want to be left out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Lance, thanks for the call. Tell your wife and your mother-in-law that there are smart people just like me.
Yeah.
Sister-in-law.
I got you.
Thank you, my friend.
Hey, sister-in-law Val Harrison, she's a Hall of Famer from out of Omaha, Benson, played in Wyoming. All right, guys.
Yeah, recognize the name.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. Golke even said the same thing with Oakland. After
I thought you were calling Mulkey names now. I was like, man.
No, Golke. It said the same thing about
Golke was talking about Lance's sister-in-law.
No, about the Cinderella thing, as you brought up. He said it twice in that post-game interview when they got the first win over Kentucky. We're not a Cinderella. Don't call us a Cinderella. And I think there was a time that, and I'm not saying that all mid or even low majors are going to completely shy away from that label. I think there's still a little bit of that badge of honor of, hey, if that's what you want to call us and it meant that we moved on, whatever. But I do think that there is a little more resistance with that. I think you guys are spot on, though, as far as why NC State is not necessarily considered the typical Cinderella, even though they have a double-digit seed next to them, is because in the Power Six. But even I just found it interesting and this is probably more of a mentality of a guy like Golke of saying, don't call us a Cinderella, where it's almost looked at as a diss. But then when you think about it, those teams, when they've been in those conferences, and a lot of them are regular season champions on top of being tournament champions in their conference, all they know in those conferences is winning. Now, their non-conference was probably a little bit more shaky because you're playing bigger schools, you're playing some of the Power Six schools. But once you get into conference play, you're in a stretch where you're winning a lot of games. You probably don't look at yourself
here's
like
the
that.
definition of Cinderella: person or thing that achieves unexpected or sudden success or recognition. What is North Carolina State?
That
they've won 9 straight elimination games.
Yeah.
It's okay to embrace it.
Yeah,
there's
I
nothing
agree.
wrong with it.
I agree.
Hey,
I don't think anybody looks at it as it diminishing the overall quality of your team.
Cinderella was a banger. Absolute banger.
Oh, the band, yeah. Well,
no, I'm talking about Cinderella.
Her?
Well, it wasn't him.
You're talking about that Cinderella. Okay, I thought maybe you're talking about the band.
No.
When you said a song and a banger, well, you said a banger. I think of songs.
When you think of Cinderella, do you think of a band or the actual Cinderella?
You threw me for a loop because you said a banger. So I immediately thought, oh, song. Man, are you going with Cinderella, the band? Because I'm pretty sure they were
Nick, just
sort of a one-hit wonder.
You just shake me, okay? What you're trying to do here, nobody's fool. And Jimmy's over here on the ones and twos, like, somebody save me. Jimmy, I'm going to take you down. We're going to go home. Okay, we're going to go down Gypsy Road.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you got.
Till it's gone.
And then LSU last night was Heartbreak Station. All right, update with Jimmy coming up next on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Pyramid Roofing Time-Saving Traffic Center. Hope your Tuesday is off to a great start. No accidents, slow-moving traffic, or any obstructions to report in the early hours this morning. However, if you are heading out for your morning commute soon, do be aware that there is rainy conditions and the roads are a little slick in some areas. Just be safe and remember to always wear that seatbelt. I'm Peter Krenzer.
Time-Saving Traffic is brought to you by Omaha Transmission.
If you're having transmission problems, you need a specialist. Call Omaha Transmission and see why people have been recommending them for almost 20 years.
Omaha Transmission, stepped into running smooth.
Hey, baseball fans, join the Blur Tailgate at Hilton Omaha this June for our 12th annual hospitality event during the College Baseball Championship Series. Book an experience for your clients or employees with an inclusive bar, buffet, TVs, music, and tailgate games. Secure your spot today and let Blur Events take care of all the work so you can enjoy the day. Plus, we're just steps away from Charles Schwab Field. Visit blurevents.com to book your group, buy tickets, or learn about sponsorships. That's blurevents.com, your college baseball and football tailgate destination.
My doctor told me my cholesterol is borderline, so I took control with Garlic Healthy Cholesterol Formula. Garlic helps maintain healthy cholesterol safely and naturally. It's odor and taste-free, and Garlic is a world leader in garlic potency. I'm taking charge of my cholesterol with Garlic Healthy Cholesterol Formula, cholesterol's natural enemy.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said.
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Don't miss this week's Zone Deal.
This week's deal is to Mexitilli Restaurant in downtown Omaha at 16th and Harney. Get $50 in gift certificates for only $25 to Mexitilli Restaurant. Mexitilli Restaurant offers authentic Mexican cuisine with the traditional flavors of your favorite Mexican dishes with an innovative touch. Mexitilli Restaurant in downtown Omaha. This week's half-off deal.
Zone deals go fast. 9 a.m. Friday, 1620thezone.com.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/radio. Through HIMS, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at HIMS, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/radio and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free, with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. hims.com/radio.
Tickets for less. Best seats, best prices, no service fees. Shop ticketsforless.com. KOZ and Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
And don't forget, March 27th, we selected 16 listeners to be paired with 16 teams. You can check out the censored 1620 bracket leading up to the championship game at 1620thezone.com.
You can.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations to the one that has UConn, because they're going to win the whole thing. It's been decided. All right. You heard it here first. Nebraska and Creighton baseball tonight at the Chuck. Left-hander Will Walsh for the Huskers against Blue Jay right-hander Malachi Vatak. 6 o'clock start time, but, well, about 50 degrees. Damp with a strong northwest wind in the forecast. That's too bad. Tickets to Nebraska's volleyball May 4th spring match against Denver and Kearney. A lot of cities will go on sale to the public today at 10 a.m. at the Buffalo County Fairgrounds. So good morning to all our friends of Buffalo County.
How soon before those sell out? So I
10:07.
I think there's 6,000. You and the arena there's nice, really, really nice. So they go on sale at 10. I'll say about 10:33 they will be officially sold out.
33. I got 07.
I'll just go solid hour. Give me an hour. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never know. Might be a late start.
Tickets for the match are $12 for the upper bowl bleacher seats and $25 for lower bowl chairback seats. But I suppose if you get the upper bowl seats, it won't be anything like if you're at the top row in Glendale this weekend. All seats are general admission. Tickets must be purchased in person with cash only by someone at least 16 years old. So anybody planning on skipping school in Kearney today to go buy tickets, well, they're on to you. A maximum of 4 tickets are available per person. Lost tickets will not be replaced. In fact, you will be mocked and ridiculed for losing them. Tickets will not be available through Nebraska, KHS, or the UNK Athletic Office. By the way, the Huskers face the Pioneers of Denver at UNK's Health and Sports Center Saturday, May 4th at 2 p.m. Doors to the match will open at 12:30 p.m. The Huskers will sign autographs following the match. You can tailgate before. I made that up. You can always tailgate before. Creighton softball meets Omaha today. Connie Clausen Field at 5 o'clock. The Jays are 21-14. The Mavs red hot at 25-7. For the first time this year and second time in his career, Caleb Riedel has named Summit League Peak Pitcher of the Week. He earned the honor after pitching his best game of yet this year, firing 7 shutout innings in a win over Oral Roberts to clinch the series victory on Saturday. In a span, this is more baseball, but of the professional variety, in a span of 7 days, Houston right-hander, what's his name? Ronel Blanco?
Ronel Blanco.
Wow.
Ronel Blanco.
How about that? Well, he's our new favorite pitcher.
Yeah, you need to know him, Jimmy. He's on your team.
I did. And maybe a little, you stop paying attention to the end of spring training. He made the team. He's a spot starter.
Yeah.
Threw a 9-inning no-hitter by himself last night, and nobody's talking about him.
Yeah.
Except for us.
He had a new daughter, made his first opening day roster. It's all in 7 days. And then threw his first no-hitter in the major leagues this season.
So you're saying he's a Cinderella?
He's a Cinderella, and there's nothing wrong with that. Here's the sound.
Ground ball tap. Blanco lets it go by. Devon Fields throws the first in time. A no-hitter! Ronel Blanco! Yainer Diaz, the first to jump into his arms, and the rest of his teammates come out to Babel. Ronel Blanco has thrown the 17th no-hitter in Astros history as the Astros defeat the Toronto Blue Jays 10-0.
Take that, Canada. Yeah. Hey, I watched Darryl Kyle, the late great, for a no-hitter on TV when I was a kid. So I missed this one. He struck out 7, walked 2. 9-inning no-hitter. Not many people do that anymore. 10-0 over the Blue Jays last night. The 30-year-old who didn't play in the majors till he was 28 was making just his 8th career start. He wouldn't have even been in Houston's rotation if not for injuries to Justin Verlander and Jose Urquidy. Luis Gil had a successful outing in his return for Tommy John surgery, and the Yankees started the season on a 5-game winning streak for the first time in 32 years, defeating the Arizona Diamondbacks to exact revenge from the 2001 World Series as they win 5-2 last night. I'm sure that makes everyone feel better. Anthony Volpe had his first career 4-hit game, including 2 doubles and an RBI. The Yankees also started the year with 5 wins in 5 games in 1933, 88, 92. The 1927 Yankees started 6-0, but they also had a tie in their 3rd game. Those damn ties at Bud Selig. But the hottest team in baseball is this year's champions, your Pittsburgh Pirates, who are 5-0 as well after last night's 8-4 win over the Nationals. Pittsburgh coming off a 76-86 record a year ago in 4th place finish in the NL Central. The team has ended up with a winning record since 2018 and hasn't won a game in the postseason since 2013. Heading into Wednesday's game at Washington, after Pittsburgh's first day off arrives today, the Pirates have outscored the opposition 39-21 so far, which averages out to roughly 8-4. Sign me up for a Pittsburgh-Atlanta NLCS, only this time the Pirates finish the deal.
What about the Yankees?
Well, they won't be in the NLCS.
Oh,
yeah.
That's right. That'd be a little bit tough.
That's true.
Although ESPN would be like,
if anybody could make it happen, though, yeah, it would be them.
Yankees are 5-0. The Mets are brutal.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Mets will get back to 500 this year. But Judge and Stanton are hitting below 200. They're 5-0. But the Pirates are, that's the first time since 83?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
When they had those gorgeous jerseys.
Yes,
Chuck
be
Tanner.
still my heart.
The black and gold.
Dave Parker, Mike Easler, Bill Madlock. They had Dale Barrow was playing shortstop. Johnny Ray. I love Johnny Ray playing second base. Marvell Wynn was their center fielder. They had Rick Rhoden, Larry McWilliams,
I remember
John
Rick Rhoden.
Candelaria, Lee
Former
Tunnell
Astro.
were their starters. Kent Tekulve coming out of the bullpen. Jim Bibby.
Yeah.
We are family
wow.
in 1983, but they had the Cobra. The Cobra was playing right field.
You called Jimmy Rain Man. That was a total Rain Man moment on your
good.
end there too with the
80s
Pirates.
baseball, man. Tony Pena, where
Sign
he
me up.
would
Tony
catch
Pena.
and he would kick out the leg.
Yep,
Yeah,
everybody. We all, if you ever even caught for a year as a little leaguer, you all tried that. I did.
Tony Pena.
I tried it. Yeah, I'm like, this is kind of fun, and then you realize it's really tough to get out of that crouch.
That's why they're called major leaguers.
Last night was a good night. to watch television because you had the two women's games. You had good baseball on. Earlier in the day, the Cubs won. Verse survived.
Yes, saw the pictures.
The Royals and the Orioles was a fun game until the Royals had bad base running and got beat with a walk-off in the bottom of the ninth. But you had Rutschman and Bobby Witt Jr., who I've said this, I'm not backing away. Next to Acuna is the next must-watch big-time player in Major League Baseball.
Not Stephen Kwan?
No, I think I'm going to pass on him.
Come on, man.
You had we're leading up to WrestleMania. The Rock did Rock things last night. Still
playing the heel?
Last night was a pretty good television viewing night. Speaking of television, I did see Channel 6 is reporting that Ryan Miller, Creighton assistant, interviewed for the Fresno State job.
And Steve Lutz got the Okie State job, too.
Yeah, I'm thinking that Mac needs a finder's fee.
Yeah.
Like his coaching tree continues to grow, and there's all kinds of different branches. But I think when Lutz gets the job at Oklahoma State and then D-Rock goes to West Virginia, I'm thinking that Mac needs a finder's fee.
Or at least the Big 12 needs
Mac's
to pay him
tree
something,
is all
too.
in the Big 12 now.
Yeah.
I know.
Great hire by OSU.
Wait till Mac goes to no. Kidding. He was there. He didn't.
Well, Bill Self's.
Where would you rather live? Where would you rather live? Ames or Omaha? Hoiberg, you're not involved in this conversation. All right. Thanks, Jimmy. Speaking of Creighton, though, so I've since the portal has been around.
Yes, I didn't say this because I left it for you.
Well, I've changed my opinion on guys transferring and getting emotionally attached and going, what are you thinking? Trayshawn Thurman changed my opinion on transferring forever.
Okay.
Omaha comes off an appearance in the Summit League championship game. A couple of days later, Big Therm is transferring. Now, back then, you had to sit out, and he transferred to Nevada, and he got playing the NCAA tournament. It's worked out for him. And, man, I love Big Therm. I didn't understand it at the time. He's got teammates going, what are you thinking? And later in life, talking to him about his decision and watching how transfers and free agency has worked in college sports, and now it's the Wild Wild West where, you can transfer willy-nilly. You can't do that in the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball or the NHL, but in college, we have 1 year free agency. My opinion and getting emotionally attached and just losing my mind over transfers has completely changed. I get it because I would do the same thing. Better opportunities out there for you that make you happy. I want people to be happy is the new norm. And yesterday you had Josiah Doetzler, who we all know, great family, great young man, goes to Creighton. I wish he would have redshirted this past year, but he decided to play, but knows what's in front of him. And it drew kind of the interesting range of emotions I noticed on social media. So did Jamarcus Lawrence yesterday. Let's first start with the Doetzler thing. I give credit to Creighton in this situation because Josiah wants to play. Everybody wants to play. Okay. And if you don't see a path where you're going to get to play more, I'm all for going and finding a better opportunity where you can. Creighton's helping him find a place. They are helping him find and sift through some things. Omaha has done the same thing with Frankie. Now, I could be just an emotional wreck and going, oh, my God, that's good. Omaha has actually had a nice little recruiting run here in 10 days. A couple of their commitments are not public yet, but they've had a good little run. But Omaha is helping Frankie with all of the information and people coming at him, which is, and there's maybe a sliver that the door is still open, but I'm not. So I've changed my opinion on transfers because it's kind of the new norm, and it's unfortunate because we do get attached to players and we like what we see, but you have to look at it from their standpoint. And I look at Josiah. Josiah wants to play, and he'll find a good spot that will allow him to play, and he will be a great addition on the court and off the court. But it's kind of cool that Creighton's helping him. And why wouldn't you? I mean, the Doetzlers have been such a huge part of Creighton basketball. Then you have Jamarcus Lawrence. I know, like with Josiah, people inside the program are not surprised. Jamarcus Lawrence, it's a mixed of whoever you talk to of, I can't believe he left. And then others are like, all you had to do was listen to him and you know why he's leaving. And that's what I'm going to focus on. Jamarcus Lawrence wants to start. There's no guarantee that he's going to start at Nebraska next year. And the clock is ticking on his college basketball career. He came back this year, played a considerable amount, and got to the tournament. Now he wants to go somewhere else and start. And I wish him the best. Unfortunately, the Nebraska's lost 7 of their 12 guys. But if you go back at the end of the year, he kind of told you about his role and he wants to start.
Yeah.
And that's what he wants to do. And that path is just not there on a guarantee at Nebraska. And so you look for a better opportunity. The porteth giveth, the porteth taketh away. That's the new norm where we are in college athletics.
The Jamarcus one, I always had my eye on once he was no longer a starter. I'll get to him in a second. I want to go back to Josiah Dotzler because I, like you at one point, because this was always, I think, in our mind of transfers being a lot more, maybe not so much in basketball, but in football as well, and you're going way back, that it was more rare because you did have that 1-year deterrent. And so you did have to sit out a year. And so I feel like
it would save leagues like the Summit League, that's for sure.
Yeah. You're going into, I think you go into high school once you realize that you are good enough at your craft, that you're going to get Division I offers and you're going to have options. I think there was a time that, when you made that commitment, you put, I'm not saying kids don't do that now, but back then you knew that commitment likely meant that was going to be your landing spot and that was going to be your place. And you were going to have to earn your playing time. And that was just how it was going to be, because if it all went bad, well, you got to go through that whole transfer thing. You got to sit out a year. Is that worth it for you? Where I think a lot of people said, you know what, I'm going to play my hand here. I'm going to see if I can move up the depth chart. Now, I think kids understand they're going to have options, that this decision, mind you, is an important one. And I think every student athlete, both male and female, go into it with the right intention of, I'm signing this letter of intent with the intention that I will stay here my entire college career. But now in the back of your head that if everything that you were sold on is not quite there, whether it's playing time, whether it's culture, whatever, maybe some other external factors, maybe you're homesick, all those different factors that exist. Every person is different. That you now understand that you have leverage, you have options. And sometimes I think that rubs people the wrong way because you feel like that commitment.
I wouldn't say you have full leverage because, again, not all portals are created equal. Some coaches maybe you're in a got to go situation.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And that's the other thing that I wanted to get to is if you're somebody that looks at the Josiah Dotzler and you think of the name and you think of the Creighton legacy and you're thinking, gosh, this upsets me. I wanted to see him be the next great Dotzler guard come through, and this was going to be really cool to watch. You bring up something that I think is important for a lot of people in that camp to think of, and that is when the team is helping accommodate you. And a lot of that, you're right, is probably also because of the respect they have with the family, but for the kid himself. If they're doing that, clearly both parties are on the same page. And I think if they're on the same page, why should you be upset about that? If the coaches are actively helping him, if the program itself is helping him facilitate where his ideal landing spot would be. The Frankie Fiddler one is different because I think a lot of people thought it was going to be tough to hold on to him. But again, it shows you the type of respect that they have for that young man, as opposed to someone that all of a sudden just out of nowhere surprised him saying, I'm leaving, and now I'm going to force you to all of a sudden scramble to try to find my replacement. I don't think you're going to get those coaching staffs are going to be so active to help you find that next destination. So if you do learn that, I think what you learn is coach and player from the current school are on the same page. And as much as whether they'd hate to see him leave or you understand why the young man wants to leave or young lady wants to leave, you're helping them find that place. That to me shows there's mutual respect. The process was handled the right way, and it shouldn't upset any fan about it, because this is the options that these kids have now. Now, going to Jamarcus Lawrence, This was why I constantly peppered Jacob Bigelow a year ago when we got to this time of the season about CJ Wilcher. Because when he was in and out of the starting lineup, I always felt like with 2 years eligibility, he wants to start. That's the type of role he wants to seek out. Yes, it would be his third school, but I always felt that that was something that was a realistic possibility and probably a reality. He stayed. He filled a good role for Nebraska. Jamarcus Lawrence, I felt like was in the exact same position to where you were a starter for a while, then you were put into more of a role coming off the bench, where I think all of us had watched that role with Jamarcus Lawrence. So that's an important role for him. And that's actually an important role for Nebraska. But you always thought, what's he going to do right now? Is he just going to up and leave? No. He's going to play out the rest of the season. But keep your eye on this one, because this is a guy that wants to get back in the starting lineup. And you're right. He verbalized that enough to where you knew what he wanted to do. And when you're sitting down during those player meetings and you can't guarantee you're definitely part of our starting five, I think that one, it just wasn't surprising. The only thing that maybe surprised me is the fact that CJ Wilcher stayed, and maybe you could get Jamarcus Lawrence to stay. CJ Wilcher stayed a year ago, and maybe you could get Jamarcus Lawrence to stay this year. But as far as what he's seeking, it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody.
There's also, these kids are smart. They know what's being recruited. They know what's either committed or is on visit. Point. So they know if they're being recruited above.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? And look at, as more stories, not necessarily the Grant Nelsons of the world that move up and they immediately have success. What were Dalton Connect's stats last year in Northern Colorado?
Pretty good. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but noticeable, very good. I'm assuming he was averaging, I don't even know. I'll have to look that. Let me take a look.
So he went from being like, I don't know, the sixth man to he was really good last year, got his opportunity, and you saw what happened at Tennessee, and he's the kind of player that'll be playing for the Miami Heat because he seems like that culture Miami Heat culture guy that'll be playing. So it's better opportunities. Hey, it sucks as a fan because you get emotionally attached to guys. And some people will be like, well, you know what? I would rather watch a mediocre team than a whole new team every year. Well, it's the new age of free agency in college athletics.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going back. This is wide open now. But not all portal entries are created equal.
Yep.
I keep prefacing that because there are a lot of circumstances that go in to why a young man or a young woman decides that somewhere else is better for them. Now, there is the scary part that there are sometimes you go into the portal and you never get out.
Yep.
And then what do you do? There are more bad characters out there that give bad information to people about, hey, this is what you should do. And they don't have to go to class or they don't have to be on that team with that person. They're just giving them advice from afar. So I like Jamarcus Lawrence, I'll be, Eli Rice, I always look and see what is the attention when you go into the portal. Like Eli Rice's is more closer to home, not necessarily Power 6 schools. Like what will be the attention for Jamarcus Lawrence? I think he will garner some good attention back closer to home.
And another guy, this was someone that I've totally forgot to mention when it came to the surprise element of you could sort of see the writing on the wall. And I think that this was more of you said recruiting above them with Denham Dawson a year ago too. When you look at guards that you just don't know if they have a role, you don't know if they're going to be able to fill that role. And I give these coaches credit for being honest. That's more than anything that I take away from these player individual meetings postseason is being able to hash out that role. Now, any coach, you have to do this anymore because if you are hitting the transfer portal, I think it's only fair to be able to be real. If you're going to go after a similar position in the transfer portal and how quickly that can impact you, you're letting your guys know that, hey, we're recruiting this position too. I just think that the communication and the level of honesty that I think has to exist right now with the coaches, it also allows me to accept what a player wants to do. I just, there was a time that I thought, and I've experienced this at a much lesser level, coaching baseball in high school, that I always felt, well, if you wanted to leave and play somewhere else, there was always that thought in my head of, you can't hack it here. And that's,
Again, they're not all created equal.
You're right. And some people are that way.
Some athletes pull the ripcord and they can't hack it.
Right.
And they're going to get a rude awakening at their next stop.
And this is where
But I hope that's not the narrative on everyone.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's where I've come around on it, because I thought, again, this was a while back, but I thought I would always side with the coach in that matter. If someone up and left, I always think of the Bo Ryan situation. And when you have a young man that you're trying to sit down with and ask them why they want why do they want to release? Why do they want to transfer? And you can't have that man-to-man conversation. I always felt like there was just a narrative of kids that just couldn't hack it. Since then, hearing more about the individual stories of different student athletes, because I know there are people out there that still think, well, if they don't want to be there, we don't want them, they can't hack it. I've come around to that's not necessarily always true, because this is where I'm glad we have these conversations of, you need to know coaches are a lot more honest during those postseason evaluations, where they're letting you know exactly what the status of not only you, but the position that you play is. And they allow you, hey, we will still honor your scholarship, but this is the role that you have. And now you have options where you don't have to sit out too. And if you do seek another place, we would help facilitate that.
Not everybody does that.
No, but that's what I say. If you're in good standing with that team,
not always the case. There are some certain people that they'll do that for, but it's not always the case. The only transfer I can think of where around here, involving all the sports around here, we're still collectively, now you know a little bit of the backstory, but everybody, when they went into the portal, went WTF. Because if you look at a Dotzler goes into the portal, if you really pause and take the emotion out of it, it kind of makes sense. Jamarcus Lawrence, if you take the emotion out of it and you listen to what he said, actually, he was interviewed in Memphis and was talking about his role and wasn't really glowing about his role of coming off the bench, even though we're like, man, that's a great part of Nebraska. Well, yeah, it was great in 23-24, but you want to do that again in 24-25. I think the only player since we've been in the transfer culture where we all went WTF is Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yep. Absolutely. Because there was a guy that played more than enough, but then you learn about some of the back channel conversation. You learn about the way that he's being used in Nebraska. And that was also a thing where when he made that announcement and you just kind of stopped and thought about it. And I think there was still at that point, some grown animosity about the way Scott Frost and the offense was using him, where I felt a lot of the shift blamed over to it, or a lot of the shift of the blame went to Scott Frost. And it wasn't necessarily, Wan'Dale, what the hell are you doing? And then you kind of found out about, some of the players back in Kentucky as well and what was going on there. But ultimately, it also came down to his role of what he came to Nebraska for and what he was being used for too, where it was easy to also point the finger at the coach.
Well, yeah, the finger, you take the whole hand, point to the coach. Here's a couple others. So this just recently in the last year, back to basketball, Ryan Nembhard. That was one where you went, whoa. You're the starting point guard on a team that just went to the Elite Eight. You got a good life here in Omaha. You're going where? Now, Kaluma,
you saw that.
If you take the emotion out of it, you're probably like, probably for what he wants and what Creighton needs. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, Nembhard would probably be second on the list behind Wan'Dale.
Agreed. I just remembered Joel Lorenzi talking about that when we had him on, and he mentioned when we were talking about team or the postseason and the team evaluation, mentioned some guys. Kaluma was number one, and they said, keep your eye on Nembhard. And I remember both of us kind of looked at each other like, oh. And sure enough, that turned out to be a reality. And so you just that's the other part about it. You might have a solid role on a team that's coming back that looks like it's going to compete at a very high level. And this is where this goes back to what you just said. They're not all created equal. You just never know.
It's a new norm. You have to.
It is.
It's unfortunate. It's the new norm. Guys are going to look for better opportunities. It's also the new norm in college basketball, where if I'm looking at a team that's in the Final Four and they flip their roster and their top 7 scorers are portal guys, what says I can't do it?
Mm-hmm.
That either gives you hope or gives you, man, this could be our philosophy. I wonder about the high school basketball player from here on out. What happens to the high school basketball player? Does he get overlooked? And then, go somewhere and be good in the Summit League. And then, we'll have you.
So the high school basketball player is now going to the Summit League and the mid-low majors attracting the high school players, and it's almost, in a sense, your G League. Mm-hmm. You develop there, you show out, you be a 20-point a night scorer, and then you'll get picked up.
So, like, the Summit League has turned into junior college basketball for the Power Six.
Mm-hmm.
And then Division II basketball is turning into the place where the low majors go to find players now.
Yeah.
So it's the circle of life of college athletics. All right, Sam McEwen from the World Herald is going to join us next on Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. Hey, you may not have any interest in the portal or what your spouse is doing. Not necessarily the same. She may actually be in the portal, and you're wondering, how do I get her back? How do I get my partner who is looking at other options back? What do I have to do to take care of this relationship problem? Well, you're not a coach, you're a man. You could be a coach and also a man. They happen to work together. But here's the deal. Probably the coach, he has a problem maybe of a little culture fit. You might have a problem of low T. Now, one thing you can fix with mentality. The other one, I got no shot for you. But what mentality can do for you, while your whole body is in the portal, and it's not only your spouse, but your attention span, all of a sudden you have extra fat on your body that you used to be able to get rid of. You can't do all of that. Mentality is going to come and take care of you. Their FDA-approved testosterone treatment will help you get out of the portal and help you to get back on the playing field. How? Well, they diagnose if you have low T. Their board-certified doctors will work with you. Just go in, take a complete exam, physical consultation. They'll sit down. They'll go through all the blood panel, what it means, the results with your very first visit. And then they will get you out of the portal, onto the floor, and onto the podium to be the best for your family, yourself, so you have more energy and better attitude. Now, they can't guarantee that you're going to get your spouse or your partner out of the portal because that's on them, but they can get you to feeling well. It's mentality. Check out their website today at lowtusa.com.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. You get a lot of junk in your inbox. This one, not junk at all. 1620 The Email. Exclusive content, contests, other stuff probably. Subscribe today at 1620thezone.com. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Breezy and cool for your Tuesday. Expect cloud cover to stick around the first half of the day. Can't rule out some early spotty drizzle. Expect more sunshine in the afternoon, though there is a slight chance of a late day shower. North winds will continue to gust up to 35 miles per hour with highs in the low to mid 50s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Pyramid Roofing Time-Saving Traffic Center. No accidents or obstructions to report currently on this Tuesday morning. Traffic picking up a little bit Dodge westbound starting around 108th Avenue to 120th Street. Might be a little slow in between there, but the rest of the road looking good in the metro right now. Just remember to stay safe and wear that seatbelt. I'm Peter Krenzer.
This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Lanahaw Nurseries.
It's spring. Now is the best time to shop at Lanahaw for all things garden or landscape. Our garden center is filled with the largest selection of homegrown plants, flowers, trees, and more. The area's best mulch and soil available for delivery and pickup. Rooted in quality, unmatched value. Lanahaw Nurseries, 192nd and Center.
A Nebraska craft beers and ciders important to you? Whether you just love Nebraska brewed beers and ciders or you're a full-fledged craft brewery, there are benefits to membership for anyone with the Nebraska Craft Brewers Guild. Their sole mission is to foster and help grow the Nebraska-centric brewing community. Become a member today at Nebraska.beer and help advance the craft beer and cider industry in the state of Nebraska. Find out more about the Nebraska Craft Brewers Guild at Nebraska.beer.
Watching a ball game at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is pretty awesome. Oscar's offers the MLB package, so your team is always on their upgraded audio-video system, and nothing is better than watching the game with a cold frosty one, Oscar's Pizza, or award-winning char-buffed wings. And with daily lunch and dinner specials, it's really a no-brainer. So get ready to watch your favorite team play ball at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, 173rd and West Center Road, and takeout at 162nd in Maple.
Nominations for the Step Forward Awards are now open. These awards are the state's most prestigious awards for volunteerism, and we need your help to find outstanding volunteers from your region of the state. If you know a volunteer who deserves to be honored for their service, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Nominate Now. Made possible by sponsors like Omaha Public Power District. Nominations must be submitted by June 1st. Paid for by Serve Nebraska, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
It's easy to see the common signs of transmission trouble.
If your engine revs before it falls into gear. If it seems to switch gears for no reason. So watch for the signs. Certified transmission, the job done right at the right price.
Forget the drive to Colorado or Missouri. Stop into any Omaha 42 Degrees and indulge in a curated cannabis experience. Premium flower, cannabis, pre-rolls, and cannabis accessories paired with an elevated customer service experience. All are waiting for you at 42 Degrees. From novices to connoisseurs, we're here to elevate your cannabis journey. 42 Degrees, your destination for top-tier cannabis, second to none product selection, and exceptional service. By your mom's house.
The Zone Hotline is powered by 42 Degrees. The Source, by your mom's house.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
All right, 37 past the hour. Let's welcome in Sam McCune of the Omaha World Herald. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Let's talk some portal here. Do you get more interested in the college football portal world or the college basketball portal world?
I think basketball. And the reason I say that is it feels like even though it's pretty frustrating, the teams will often change and improve in interesting ways. I think that the ecology is a little bit more straightforward in college basketball. You got mid-major guys moving up to high major programs, and you got a couple of high major guys moving around to different leagues, and so it does actually at times feel like the teams get better, and then and that teams can actually mutually improve. There's some teams that don't lose many guys, but then there are teams that seem to lose guys, and those guys go to places that are better for them, and they get better players. I think in college football, it's still, I think almost all coaches are like, this hurts us, and there are exceptions, usually with quarterbacks. But, I think college basketball portal in is probably helped the sport in a way.
That's a good point.
I think it's helped the sport. 10 years ago, it was the Kentucky and Duke show with, the Nike development program with 18 and 19-year-olds winning national championships. And you know how many Final Fours Kentucky and Duke have been to combined in the last decade? One. Oh. And I'm okay with that. I don't really want Kentucky and Duke to win national titles with 18 and 19-year-olds because Nike's paying them to go there. So that's just not my thing. And now Kentucky and Duke have to change if they want to go to the Final Four. So I think it's actually been okay for college basketball.
It's interesting you said that because we remember what Kentucky was known for, and Duke and some other schools obviously took on some form of it, but the one and done model, which I think we can all agree is not the way right now. And Gary brought up this question, which I think is interesting too. I'd love to get your thoughts, is what that does for high school recruiting. Because in the one and done, you would get the top high school prospect, you'd have them for 1 year, and then you'd lose them to the pros. Now it seems like you get either the top end mid or low major guy. You have him for a year or two in your program, and then you kind of recycle that way. You kind of continue maybe down that path while you still hopefully have some type of a core around them. So does that essentially eliminate the one and done model, or at least what we're seeing with college basketball now, that the one and done model is pretty much a dinosaur?
It's not necessarily going to end it, because there's two programs that appear to want to continue to engage in it. And as I said before, I think Nike helps them do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now Kentucky and Duke may decide we're no longer interested in helping Nike develop its stars for shoe deals. And on that day, they can decide to get older and better. Duke was like that just 15 years ago. So now it depends on whether they actually want to do that. I don't think they're going to do it with like 5 stars in their upcoming class, but it's an interesting process. It has changed high school recruiting for kids who are in high school now, for sure. They're not going to get probably as good of offers as they could have, and that's too bad. I think some of these players are having to go to schools that are mid-majors instead of high major opportunities because it's too easy to move around. I mean, somebody is going to get Jamarcus Lawrence, and that's a better basketball player than the number 50 player in the country coming in, and that's just reality. I could sit here and say that Nebraska under Fred Hoiberg has had a really poor track record of recruiting out of high school, but I think a lot of schools have. And so I think Nebraska's maybe a little worse than most. And I do feel like there's times when Nebraska has signed guys almost as practice squad players or something. I'm not even sure what it is. And by that, I mean the centers, some of the centers, the guy they had, Oleg, who was probably a better player than they gave him credit for, but they kind of, hey, let's have a 7-footer around. Some of the guys they signed, I felt like were here for a year, and they really, they weren't that bad, and they moved on. And then you have situations like Lawrence, where I'm guessing Nebraska did not want him to leave. He feels like he's got some other opportunity somewhere else, and we'll see where he lands. Maybe he'll land in the Big East, at a Xavier or a St. John's or a Seton Hall, and he'll be close to home. Maybe that's what he's doing, and if that's what he's doing, hard to blame him.
Hey, so we focus on college basketball because we can look at the Final Four teams, and they have kind of reconstructed their roster out of the portal in a short amount of time, especially Alabama. Let's go to football. And now that we've put eyeballs on a couple of the new guys, how would you describe the approach? Not the Troy Dannon, this is what we want to do with NIL is recruit or retain and reward. But how would you describe the approach for Rule with portal guys in football? If you're looking at some of the guys in the most recent portal class are going to be guys that are going to play a lot of football coming up in the fall.
Good question. I think that Matt Rule wants to develop over a 4-year period, so he wants to recruit well out of the high school system, especially when he can control the height, weight, speed. Well, he can't control it, but he can recruit for the variables in the ways that he wants, and then develop the athletes the way he wants to do them. Simultaneously, there's certain positions that I think he's comfortable recruiting out of the portal for, and then you have to have the money for it. You've got to put yourself in the mix, in the running for, an elite, this, that, or the other. And that isn't always easy. That can be challenging. Offensive linemen are at a premium. I think they feel pretty good about their ability to develop defensive linemen, so maybe they won't have to go and get necessarily an edge rusher per se. But offensive linemen are at a premium, and then, everybody's looking for a wide receiver now. And Nebraska seems to have gotten a few guys that they like. And then there's a running back. So I think there's positions where they're going to be comfortable. And then the area where I think, is an untapped market for this coaching staff is that FCS market. Now, Bly Hill is the exception, but the Big Sky and the Missouri Valley have football players that can help Nebraska. And so I think what Nebraska can continue to do is find the guys that are already in this region who might want to call up and recruit them. I mean, there's just no other way to put that. And I think they'll like what they get. I'm not saying it's like 5 guys a year. I'm saying it's 2.
Yeah.
There's guys in the Missouri Valley and the Big Sky conferences that play real football, good football, and can certainly hang in this area because they know the weather. You know, they know the region. Bly Hill knows this weather. I mean, he played in the Allegheny, which is really cold and horrible weather in the winter. So you got to find guys that know the weather and be comfortable with that, and then they got to be tough. And I think Nebraska needs to continue to go at that FCS market and bring some of those guys upward.
Sam, what's your overall read with how people are embracing spring ball right now? We've talked about basketball was a nice distraction, so there's not a lot of focus on it. But now we got baseball going on, but now we're fully into spring football where we can pay more attention to it. Is it strictly because of the success basketball was having, or is it because there is that optimism with the year 2 and as much optimism as there is, externally and internally, maybe that doesn't create as much conversation of, oh, we got to see this, we got to see that. And it's, let's let these guys go to work and see what this thing looks like at the end of spring and going into fall.
When I was in college is when spring football got to be a big deal. The first year that I remember it being a big deal was actually when Osborne retired, and Bobby Newcomb and Eric Crouch and who was the third guy, were competing for the job, Frankie London.
Yep.
And they gave the job to Bobby based on a run in the spring game. And that was 98, I think. And that was the first year that I remember it being a big deal. I don't remember thinking about it at all when I was a kid. And then I think it got to be an even bigger deal when Bill Callahan, the 04 game. And spring football has become a much bigger deal in the last 25 years than it used to be. Much, much bigger deal. And I honestly think that the better Nebraska gets, the less people will pay attention to it, because it feels like it's the time when everybody gets to be optimistic, and because the seasons don't go the way that people hope. So I think as time goes on, people will care less about it the better the team gets. And then also, if your basketball teams continue to be this good, it will reduce the amount of focus on whatever's going on, because fans in Nebraska like basketball and baseball. Like this, those are 2 sports that people that I grew up with really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And it's, if those teams are good, and I'm talking Creighton too, if those teams are good, people will get a kick out of that, and they want to follow basketball and baseball in the state. That's not that different from the state of Kansas or Missouri or Iowa, in that way.
Mm-hmm.
They just haven't been very good in college basketball until the last, I don't know, however many years with Creighton, and the last year with Nebraska. So, if basketball ever got good here, I think you'd see the state focus way more on that than spring football, just as it did this year.
Hey, is Nebraska one of the few places that is spring football fail-proof? Because I'm looking around the country, and whether it be the attention to spring or eliminating public scrimmages, it appears that college football with the spring is like, let's just get in, let's get out, no injuries, let's get done, and we'll give our fans something in the fall. I mean, spring football will always have a place at Nebraska, correct?
Yes, I think it'll have a place at Nebraska. I think that you are seeing it increasingly move in this direction of because it got overexposed. I mean, again, you go back to when I was in college, nobody cared about it that much, and then all of a sudden it became a way for ESPN to make some money. It got overexposed. Now most people are cutting the cord, and so they don't necessarily watch that stuff as much. And I think coaches are getting paranoid. PJ Fleck talked about wanting to keep his team under wraps or something. So people, I'm like, do you think somebody's going to come and get your quarterback like this summer after he just transferred to you and he only has 1 year left? Like, what are you talking about? But anyway, that's him. And there's certain things that I don't know. You can just sense that it's not as big of a deal as it was 5 years ago, and that's probably a good thing for all people involved.
Sam, I did mention baseball tonight. Creighton, Nebraska play. You've grown up watching these two teams play, both at Rosenblatt and Charles Schwab Field. This one feels different given where both teams are at this point of the season. Do you think it's going to get the type of response? I know the weather's going to dictate a lot of things, but as far as people's excitement level for the first of three in this 24 edition of Nebraska-Creighton, is it moving the needle more so?
It is for sure. I think both teams are NCAA, regional teams. I think that's encouraging. Wish Rosenblatt was still around. 'Cause I think, and this is a moment where it would help because that always made it seem whatever. And I know that TD Ameritrade or Schwab Field or whatever it's called is also the home of the College World Series now. But how many people are going to get down there tonight? What's the weather going to be like? Yeah, it's a big deal for both teams. Creighton's always taken it more seriously than Nebraska, and it shows on the field. It shows in the way they play. Nebraska has rarely handled the rivalry with Creighton in almost any sport very well, with the exception of volleyball, and I think that's just because Nebraska's better. A lot of times Creighton puts more energy and more investment into winning that game. I think that may be the case tonight. Now we'll see. This is a big game for Nebraska because this is a RPI game for them. Like they can help their overall resume. And so I think you're going to probably see them play pretty hard too, but Service always has his teams up for it. He said it yesterday and he puts a lot into it. And so, Creighton will be ready and they, it's their home field. And so there will be fewer Nebraska fans down there. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Simple as that.
Hey, we'll get you out of here, but I want to go back to football real quick because I'm looking at post-practice the other day, and Fedoni's up there speaking, and I'm like, gosh, that guy is now in his fourth year at Nebraska. But he's starting to stack months of being healthy. And we've all gotten to know him, and we know what his reaction was last year when he finally had some success. He's got a big chip on his shoulder, and he always has. If you go back to Lewis Central, it was always, even though you're the number one tight end in the country, people were like doubting him. So that drove him. He's, and athletes at that level, they're always finding that thing to drive them. So give me the thing after Fedoni has a healthy year and an okay year. What do you think is his chip on the shoulder going into this season that will drive him to be better than he was last year?
Probably twofold. One, I think there's, more touchdowns, more big plays, more throw me the ball. Like I'm open, throw me the ball. Let's get there. And the other one's blocking. I think, he's talked a little bit about that. And I think that the blocking component, so being a dominant all around tight end, I think is an area for him. I think if you're going to play in the NFL and you're going to be, there are a few players who don't have to block, like Kyle Pitts. He's really a receiver. But most tight ends have to be elite blockers, almost all of them. Kelsey doesn't. But, again, I don't think Fedoni's as good as that. So, you got to be well-rounded to make the league. And so he's got to get better there. And then just probably the leader, it's not an old offense at the skill spot. And so he's going to be one of the older voices in the room, along with Jamal Banks, who has never been here. And I don't know if the other guy will be. He hasn't played much football, and I think most people will want to see him prove it. The guy from Texas, Banks Banks has played a lot of football, so I'm guessing everybody thinks, this guy looks like a leader to us. So I think Fedoni will be a leader. Then the blocking, and then let's make some more big plays. Get open downfield. Make some one-on-one plays. I think he needs probably a better quarterback to do that, a more consistent one, and we'll see if he has that this year.
Yep. Sam, as always, we appreciate it. Have a good week.
You too.
This is going to be my my in-depth analysis. Thomas Fedoni will be better with a better quarterback. There you go.
Whoa! Yeah. Having him not have to stretch his entire body out, make a one-handed grab across the middle where you can actually hit him in stride and he can move up field.
I think there's a lot of guys that you wondered where they were last year in a young wide receiver crew that will have a better year because they're going to have balls that are thrown to them that are more catchable.
On time.
Well, just kind of the ball that's being thrown to him. Harburg throws a difficult ball.
It's a riser.
And for young wide receivers that are not used to that, they struggle with that. But just the simple fact is just being able to play pitch and catch in space. I mean, you look at the hip drop thing in the NFL, tight ends are going to have a heyday because why not throw it to a tight end out in the flat? And that tight end usually is going to get a one-on-one matchup with a smaller defensive back. How's that defensive back going to bring them down one-on-one without going with a hip drop style tackle?
Yeah.
I mean, Fedoni's a guy that got to get it in space. And they got to get one-on-one matchups. And I just think a quarterback being able to just play pitch and catch will help him. And then it's in his hands to catch it in the flat and then move north-south, not east-west.
Yeah.
But 25 catches last year, 4 touchdowns, 10.4. First year healthy? Can he get to 35 to 40 catches this year in this offense?
Yeah.
We'll see. Good tight end room. All right, 7:55. Rob Childers coming up at 8:30. Right here on Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. All right, off to baseball. Dingers, blasts, moonshots, whatever you call them. Everyone loves home runs. The chicks dig the long ball. Yeah. I also like Dongtown. And with FanDuel's Dinger Tuesdays, you can love them even more. That's right. Bobby Witt Jr., Salvi Perez. Yeah, that's right. Dinger Tuesdays are back for another season on America's #1 sportsbook.
Yeah, Mookie Betts, Teoscar Hernandez off to a good start. Even Mike Trout's got 3. And Dinger Tuesdays meaning back for another season on America's #1 sportsbook. That means you bet on a player to homer, and FanDuel will give you $5 in bonus bets for every home run hit during the game. As if you needed another reason to love the long ball. Visit FanDuel.com, use the promo code ZONE to get in on all of the Dinger Tuesday action. That's FanDuel.com/zone. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. 21 plus and present in Iowa. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expires 7 days after receipt. Max bonus $25 per game. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. The best way to catch all the action is on 1620 The Zone. And no line for the bathroom.
There is only one constant in the universe, and that's change.
Brent Rasmussen of Mortgage Specialists.
I'm sure many of you remember the incredibly low interest rates that were available only a few years ago. Well, things changed. Now rates are higher. But would you believe me if I told you there was a time when people were paying double-digit rates? And that's the thing. Everything changes. Rates go up, rates go down. So if you're waiting for the perfect time when rates drop before you buy a home, you might miss out on the home you really want. So when you think about it, what's a thing today might not be a thing tomorrow. See? Change is good. I'm Brent Rasmussen. Call me at Mortgage Specialists, and we can show you all the details. Mortgage Specialists. Driven, trusted, reliable.
Click mtg-specialists.com. NMLS number 5918, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, baseball fans, join the Blur Tailgate at Hilton Omaha this June for our 12th annual hospitality event during the College Baseball Championship Series. Book an experience for your clients or employees with an inclusive bar, buffet, TVs, music, and tailgate games. Secure your spot today and let Blur Events take care of all the work so you can enjoy the day. Plus, we're just steps away from Charles Schwab Field. Visit blurevents.com to book your group, buy tickets, or learn about sponsorships. That's blurevents.com, your college baseball and football tailgate destination.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's corporate cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now, get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. RAMP.com Babel.com/sports.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members of FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
We're going abroad for the first time in years. To Spain.
But we don't speak Spanish.
So we started using Babel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks. Babel's conversational method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babel's interactive bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish.
Estoy muy emocionado para ir a España contigo.
Aw, he just said, I'm very excited to go to Spain with you. Nos vamos a divertir mucho.
And that means we're going to have a lot of fun.
Sí. Gracias, Babel.
Babel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babel for free at Babel.com. Just go to Babel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babel.com. Babbel.com.
1620 The Zone at 1620thezone.com. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, we were talking about going to Dongtown.
Yep.
Which, if you're long, man, boom, that's a banger. Is like Christopher Morel in the Cubs-Rockies game yesterday was the latest to have a Little League home run. Do Little Leaguers, when they hit a home run like that now, call it a Major League home run?
Hope so. Yeah, they should. I don't know. I haven't talked to Little Leaguers lately, but I'll find out.
I still got my first ever Little League home run.
Do you?
Yeah. I hit it off Chris Gates over the left field wall, about 225 feet. Somebody went in the parking lot and retrieved it, gave me the baseball afterwards. I had Chris Gates, because he lived in my street, had him sign the baseball.
That's a dick move.
No, it's not.
You had the guy who gave up the home run.
Yeah.
Sign the ball.
Yeah.
Man, don't be a Richard. Come on. How old were you?
10.
I guess maybe nobody knows better. He doesn't realize he's being dissed by one Gary Sharp.
Yeah. Because
God, even back then you were a smart ass.
My dad put like the date.
Yeah. You always put
We got the little trophy that had the baseball glove.
Yeah,
they could put the ball in.
Okay. I thought maybe just the regular case.
So Chris was at my house, like 2 weeks later, and I said, "Hey, why don't you sign that?" And so he signed the baseball.
Well, he probably thought it was cool to sign a baseball.
Yeah.
Probably didn't realize the significance of you're signing the ball that I will forever know as the one that you gave up my first ever home run. I honestly can't. I remember where my first home run was. I don't know who I hit it off of.
Now, I remember that because there were not many afterwards.
Yeah. Okay.
I never hit a Little League home run.
Ever do one? Did you ever hit one in T-ball? Does that count?
No.
Okay.
No.
I had some whoppers in T-ball.
I'll tell you where I can hit it.
I just had to have T the right level, though.
We'll sometimes go and play home run derby on Omaha softball field.
Yeah.
Which is a great complex, by the way.
Yeah.
Great. I put some into the parking lot there. Yeah.
Do you go? Are you able to use the BB Core bats, or do they have their hands on the pre-BB Core bats?
I'm not sure. Whatever bat is available, it's in the tunnel.
Okay.
Let's take some swings.
Because remember when they had the home run derby, was 1 year. It might have been the year that Aaron Judge was in it. That they allowed them to use the non-BB Core, the Air Attacks, the old Eastons.
Back when they had the All-Star
TPX
game at Coors Field, when McGuire and Sosa were going, I thought it'd be great if they hit with aluminum bats.
Just see if you could knock one into what's the bar back there that it's escaping. But any bar, any restaurant back there behind in the Lodo area would have been on alert then.
No, that would have been a foul ball. Outside the main entrance of Coors Field is there was the main bar right across the street, the huge sports bar that closed. I think it's now Tom's.
You're right.
They had the newspaper.
You're right.
Across, yeah.
That's right, because
so we'd be hitting the left field.
I went to Jackson's Hole. That's what it was called.
Yes.
Jackson's Hole. Going from that right into them. So you're right. It's the main entrance.
That was a good sports bar.
Yeah.
It
was huge.
It was super popular, and I think it closed 2 years ago.
I remember the last time I was there, it was Texas versus Nebraska football, and it was the Rockies-Red Sox game through the World Series. And my only World Series I've ever been to. And it was also the day that I believe was the last game a certain play-by-play announcer ever did for Nebraska football on radio.
Really?
Yeah.
Who was that?
It was 07.
I wasn't here. Who was that?
He works in our area. I feel like I'm narrowing it down, I was getting a lot of text that day because I was watching the game on TV, so I wasn't listening to the radio broadcast. I was getting a lot of text that day.
Wasn't here. Didn't know anything about it. Don't know that person. All right, when we come back, we got Rob Childers coming up at the bottom of the hour. If Ed Service went 3-53 in a season, but 3 wins over Nebraska, would he be the happiest guy alive? Big game tonight. Is it an optic game for Nebraska? As Nebraska and Creighton play the first of 3 this month in a matchup where, for only the 3rd time ever, combined win percentage of over 800. We will dive into that as we move towards our Rob Childers at 8:30. Also, Brian Christopherson will stop by. Nebraska football cranks it back up again this week for the second week of spring football. And Andy Kendi stops by, all part of Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. Hey, as you know, we are into the spring part of the season where you need to look your best. You got prom, you got graduation coming up. How about if you are thinking about it's time to go golfing? I know the weather will be improving here shortly. You know what? I was at Lindley Clothing, my good friends over at 132nd and West Dodge and the Linden Market, John and Marlene, that whole crew over there. So I need some sportswear. And I was like, kind of for an event, which is biz cash, but also for golf. And you know what is an underrated aspect of good sportswear, especially with a golf shirt, is the collar. You know who has a really good collar? Peter Millar. You know who has a lot of Peter Millar? Lindley Clothing, 132nd and West Dodge in the Linden Market. Not only Peter Millar, but Baroni Samuelson. And they got simply something for everyone. They can help out your fit, men. They've been dressing men for over 88 years. They got you covered from sportswear to tailored suits to jeans. And they've got a game changer. Right next door is Well Suited. Check it out. Simply something for everyone, men. Stop there today. Lindley Clothing, Well Suited, 132nd and West Dodge in the Linden Market. And don't forget, they got their big spring sale coming up beginning on April 4th. It's Lindley Clothing in the Linden Market, 132nd and West Dodge.
More with Gary and Nick after this on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Pyramid Roofing Time-Saving Traffic Center. Reports of 2 accidents at the intersection of 24th and Cumming. Please be cautious regardless of the direction you are approaching this intersection. A crash also reported near 52nd and Bedford. And traffic is picking up Dodge westbound between 108th and 120th, as well as JFK northbound starting around Q up to L Street. Remember to stay safe and wear that seatbelt. I'm Peter Krenzer.
This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Fernando's.
Mario Street Tacos or steak and chorizo queso blanco enchiladas can only be found in one place. Fernando's. Great Mexican food, awesome margaritas, and a wonderful family atmosphere. Fernando's, Omaha's favorite Mexican for more than 30 years.
So with Sol's Jewelry and Loan dealing with designer bags, what is another option that our clients have if they don't want to actually sell their item?
If you're looking to borrow some money, you don't necessarily want to get rid of it. We can hold on to it for safekeeping until you're ready to come pick it back up.
She posted about us just now.
Celebrities can't get enough of Biana's bespoke skincare line.
She has 147 million followers. How do we monetize?
She needs a social media associate to help her with the hype.
We should repost this. Do we need a hashtag?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Email unsportsmanlike conduct on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox with whatever is on your mind, from your hot takes to what you think is one. The Zone inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. We want to hear from you on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox.
Do you like to shoot fireworks? Would you like to get paid to shoot fireworks? J&M Displays wants you. Help shoot an Omaha Storm Chasers game, Memorial Park display, or any of the major shows in Western Iowa and all of Nebraska. If you like to travel, J&M covers Nebraska, Kansas, and most of Missouri. They offer free training and great daily pay rates, which makes it a perfect part-time job. Visit jnmdisplays.com and click the Join Our Team tab to find out more. J&M Fireworks.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle, unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. With ZipRecruiter, one click sends your job to hundreds of top job sites. But more than that, ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies the candidates with the skills you need, sends you a list of great matches to review, then actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
The backseat. Check the backseat. All right, come here. Check the backseat.
Gets in your head, right? Good. Because every year, dozens of children are forgotten in the backseat of a car by a parent or caregiver. All never thought it could happen to them. But with changes in routines, distractions, or a sleeping child, it can happen to anyone. Parked cars get hot, fast, and can be deadly. So get it in your head.
Check the backseat.
A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Tickets for less. Best seats, best prices, no service fees. Shop ticketsforless.com. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
So there was a no-hitter last night in baseball. 323rd no-hitter was actually a guy that pitched all 9 innings, Ronel Blanco for the Astros. Is that the first no-hitter in a City Connect jersey?
I think it is, actually. I thought the same thing when I saw that. Like, wow, it's kind of early to go with the City Connect jerseys.
Well, the regular jerseys weren't helping them win anything.
Maybe. You know what? You know what, Jimmy? As we know, baseball.
Hey, the Astros got off to a slow start last year, didn't they?
Players very superstitious.
Yeah, but 4-game sweep.
Maybe they thought, you know what? Let's go City Connect. We got to shake
it's
things
only
up
a
a
matter
little
of
bit.
time before things start to kind of fall apart. So I'm just embracing myself. But I'm happy they could have a positive story last night. Most of all, they won the damn game.
Wow. Does that mean that they go City Connect from here on out until they lose?
I hope not, but you have to consider
Maybe
it.
Blanco. Every time Blanco starts, they're like,
That's
all right,
fair.
City Connect it.
They let the starting pitcher pick the uniform.
Yeah. Okay.
I've noticed a lot of college teams do that now too.
I like that.
Some places they let you pick the uniform top and or the hat you're going to wear.
Okay. Hey, look good. You look good. You play good.
Yep. All right. National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day, everybody.
And there's a lot of it in the break room.
Get yourself an Uncrustable.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot. I noticed when we walked in, there's a lot of bread in there. I didn't know what else.
PB&J bar.
Okay.
Is that what's going on? Okay. That caught my eye as I was walking in.
That to put in your sandwich.
Why do we have so many loaves of bread in here? Makes sense.
Okay, so I did see a thing of honey.
There's
Some
honey.
people like honey on their peanut butter.
There's that.
We did that in
fluffer
elementary
crap
school.
with the marshmallows.
I'm on Connor brings in a couple of Uncrustables every day.
Mhm.
Throws them in the fridge here in the studio.
I got to keep them cool.
So now I'm hooked on them, but I'm a Mr. Microwave guy. On a plate, put them in the microwave for about 36 seconds. People tell you not to do that.
Yeah.
Game changer because
You're not
it's
patient.
still kind of frozen,
Mhm.
but then you have the warm peanut butter and jelly together.
Interesting.
I don't know what you put in your mouth, but it's actually pretty good.
We have some in our
use that
freezer.
line?
Yeah.
We have some in our freezer. Maybe I'll check it out.
I made sure I didn't say what I wanted to say. No, it's
we're talking about peanut butter and jelly.
Oh no, I thought we were talking about Nick's mouth.
Oh.
All right, Rob Childers coming up at the bottom of the hour. Got a mouth on him.
You know what they did?
I've heard him
Whoa.
get after some guys.
You know how they made Mr. Ed talk, right?
Peanut butter jelly time.
They put peanut butter on the roof of his mouth. That's what got him to move his mouth. It's true. It's a well-known fact. Do the same thing to me.
Didn't know that. Learned something new today.
Oh, there you go.
Peanut butter jelly time.
Peanut butter jelly.
So tonight, weather permitting, Creighton and Nebraska are going to play downtown. Now, problem has been Creighton and Nebraska have not held up their end of the bargain of being really, really good when these two teams play. And the ballpark downtown is not enough to get people just to go there because they want to go there.
Need some charm.
Yeah. It's a cookie cutter. It's cool for the College World Series, but when it's empty, there's that ballpark does nothing for you.
Yep.
And it's lost the lure of, okay, I want to go because I want to be there.
Yeah.
So that's on Nebraska and Creighton to up this, and a little bit on Nebraska because this has been a one-sided series. Creighton has own this series. But I said this kind of jokingly, but think about it for a moment. And Sam brought up a point that is in some sports is being debunked, but Nebraska for the longest time has ignored Creighton about this being a rivalry.
Yes.
And so you face a team in Creighton wearing blue that usually is sky high because it's a big deal to them.
Mm-hmm.
And how are you able to match that? Now, back in the day when Dave Van Horn was going at it with Creighton, he made it a big deal. It's like, we are not losing to Texas. We're not losing to Creighton.
Yep.
And so he talked about it leading up. So guys knew how important it was instead of saying it's just a game on the schedule. Thank you, Coach Service. You've been around long enough. You've had great success against Nebraska. But he said yesterday, it's not just another game. Thank you. Would he be satisfied if they went 3-53 and 3 wins were against Nebraska?
If you had a 3-50 season, if there's any way that you can enjoy
People
that
think I'm getting fired,
3-50 season, that would be the way to enjoy it right
People
there.
think I'm getting fired, but you know what?
Yeah.
We beat our rival.
Yeah, we beat our in-state rival. We swept them.
We went 3-0 against them.
We swept them. Not only did we win the series, we swept them.
Look at the broom in my office. But the fact, this is when these two schools play each other and recognizing that it's a big deal to the fans, it's a big deal to the players because, like in baseball, there's so much local talent that's going to be together tonight.
21 players total in the state of Nebraska.
It's a great showcase for how good high school baseball is in this area, that they've made the jump to play for Creighton or Nebraska, and that they're on the stage. And a lot of them are in the lineup, which it's not just, hey, he's the 35th man on a 36-man roster.
Right.
So it's a great showcase for local baseball and in-state baseball. But it makes the rivalry better when coaches aren't afraid to acknowledge it. And Ed has never been afraid to acknowledge that this is a big game, and his team has responded in kind. Now, I think Will, in Will's own way, acknowledges that this is a big deal.
Much more so than Darren.
But what is Will, 1-3 against Creighton?
But they do have the last win.
They do.
Last time they went out.
They do.
Nebraska finally got off the schneid there. It was just some real bad baseball that Nebraska played. It typically, you would, and a lot of those games, at least 2 out of 3 of those games a year, is going to be played downtown. I've had a front row seat to a lot of those games here as of late, and it just has not gone well. Whether it's horrendous offense, a lot of strikeouts, bad pitching, it's just been a collection of things. And when I think about it, if you go back to Van Horn, who you're right, made it a big deal, but then you go forward to when Mike Anderson was the head coach. Remember, Mike Anderson as an assistant coach had that little dust up when they played in Lincoln, when it started just absolutely unloading and pouring, and he got into it with the first baseman at the time. So there was always like these weird things that would happen. Mike Anderson, when he was the head coach, though, it seemed like he kind of backed away from it a little bit. Darren is wired like a Major League Baseball manager. So he's wired as if 162 games are played. I'm not going to put more emphasis on 3 out of those 162 games. I know Darren, the competitor, it got to him big time. I talked to Darren after some of those games that they lost to Creighton, and there was a tone that was a little bit more palpable than what you would see when they lost games in conference play. So I know it mattered to Darren. He never made that public. I think you're right. Will has never come right out and said, oh, this is huge. We have to have this. But this is the difference between Will and Darren as the manager mode that I think Darren has and the college baseball coach that Will Bold is. And we talked about this yesterday. This has to mean more to both teams right now, given the opportunity that they have. This is what's great about this one, and this is why I hope it amps it up a little bit. This game for both teams is a resume builder, and we haven't been able to say that the last few years.
So you had that stretch. So John Sanders didn't like Creighton. I mean, that was nasty. They'd talk crazy. I mean, we had some fights. You have John, Jim Henry, and then you had Jack Dahm on one side going against Van Horn. I will never forget. We pulled up. This is 2000, so a really good team. Pull up to Rosenblatt Stadium, and Van Horn on bus trips never said anything. He sat in the front seat, didn't say a word. Like on longer bus trips, Rob might be in the back playing, spades with the guys or whatever. And he'd always holler back to the front of the bus to a player, "Come back here and get your beating." He'd be taking guys' money. But I remember this. The bus pulls up, and there were 15,000 people there that night.
Mm.
There were people tailgating, and it was a big deal because it was that late May game at Rosenblatt.
Yeah.
And usually Creighton in the Missouri Valley Conference and Nebraska in the Big 12, they were barreling towards a trip to the NCAA tournament because they were playing really well, and they had a conference that was not just a one-bid league. And the bus pulls up, and usually Van Horn would just collect his briefcase and his jacket, and he would get off the bus. And he stands up, and he goes, "Remember, this is a home game." And off the bus, and Nebraska, I think was at 10-2. I mean, just rolled.
Yeah.
And there were 15,000 people there. It was a great atmosphere. So if the coaches pay attention to it and they bring it up with their players, that's the way to handle it.
Yep.
It makes the rivalry better. So I'm glad. And Ed's been around this forever. I mean, he's gone through matchups against so many different Nebraska coaches that he acknowledges it's a big deal. It needs to be a big deal for Nebraska tonight. This is an optic for if you've won 10 in a row and you're feeling pretty good, and now you're playing a team that also feels pretty good at where they're at, and they're 20-4, and their RPI is respectable. I mean, Creighton is a top 40 RPI. This is an optic win. I don't want to say the word must win, but it's an optic win to, anybody that's on the fence of going, well, I'll wait on Nebraska baseball. Well, they just rolled into Omaha and won, and now they're 21-5.
I absolutely
with the Big Ten this weekend.
I absolutely think this is an optic win for Creighton too. I think there's. I'll get to that part in a second, but I do want to go back to. So the last time we were asking the question, when was the last time that these two teams had the winning percentage or had the combined record that it is right now, with each team as 20 game winners, and ironically, is 2005. If people remember that, first of all, the 2005 season was when Nebraska went to their most recent College World Series appearance. But if you also remember, and this was when I did my first ever Creighton baseball game at Haymarket Park with a guy named Brad Burwell. We did the regional. Creighton was in Nebraska's regional.
Yeah.
And that was one of the coolest environments I've ever seen. It was NC State and Nebraska. And Nebraska and Creighton had to play each other twice. Nebraska won. They got the better of Creighton, but that was a 48-win team that Creighton was that year. And if I was looking back at the scores of that series, you had 5-3, 4-3 that Nebraska won. So the Rosenblatt game, I'll never forget that. Alex Gordon just threw an absolute piss missile to nail a runner at home on a cut. There were these great moments in that game, but the crowd more than anything. I mean, it was probably 18 to 20,000 at Rosenblatt.
That's the thing. We've lost we used to always say the crowd. Yeah. We've numerous times, the crowd. Well, they met last year in the first game up here, and there were 2,400 people.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is on Nebraska.
It's a shell of itself.
It's Nebraska and Creighton to make this game bigger, okay, by your performance on the field. In the last decade, Creighton's been in the NCAA tournament one time. Nebraska's been 5. It used to be when they were meeting, this was a preview to get them both ready to play at the end of March.
Exactly, because you would have that game in May, and then maybe you had the following weekend was your last regular season weekend before you went and played in the Big 12 and the Missouri Valley Conference tournament. Now, you mentioned optics for Nebraska. Look, we know Creighton right now, and I can't emphasize this enough, and this is why I was happy that we got to go down on the field and talk to Ed before a game, and just watching some of the players milling around in the dugout. It's a big team. They're a strong team. So I don't think their offensive numbers are overly flukish based on just who they've played. I think there's a lot of pop in that lineup. But if there's one knock on Creighton right now, people are going to point to the schedule. And even the weekend where they get the series victory over Stanford, people look at Stanford. We talked about it. Stanford, even Ed Service said they're down this year. So as much as I think this is an optic for Nebraska, if you're trying to believe that Creighton truly is a 20-win team and they're going to win the Big East, they're going to win the Big East tournament, they're going to get the automatic bid. But if they don't, for some reason, that they're going to get the at-large, Nebraska's good enough. I think we feel confident to say that this is also a major optic win. And what's great about this is you get 3 cracks if you're Creighton with this Nebraska team, and then you also have a midweek doubleheader or 2-game midweek series with Coastal Carolina. There's nothing in the Big East that is going to provide solid optics. We were hoping that would be UConn this year, and UConn's struggling right now. So these moments against Nebraska, against Coastal Carolina, these are where I think the public watching this team and seeing the record is also going to have some type of validation one way or the other of what this team is. So I said this yesterday. These teams this year more than ever need each other.
Yep.
They absolutely need each other.
Yep. All right, that's coming up tonight downtown. Weather is wind's going to be howling.
Blown out though.
Well, we'll see.
How
does that make a pitching coach feel? He'll join us next. Rob Childress is on deck. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. All right, baseball fans, we've talked a lot of baseball this morning. Imagine Caitlin Clark throwing out the first pitch tonight. What kind of crowd that would draw? Would it draw more to see the first pitch than the other 190 other pitches that will be thrown in the game? But if you are ready to win big with the Royals this year, you can do it with Tickets for Less. Sign up today for the MJ Melendez Home Run Sweepstakes. For every home run by MJ Melendez, and you know the Royals now are bashing home runs, one lucky fan scores big with a signed baseball and a $50 Tickets for Less gift card. Swing for the fences and sign up now for ticketsforless.com/contest. It's pretty easy to find. It's your chance to win. Winners will be announced the day following a home run, and multi-home run games equal multiple winners, so don't miss out. Learn more and sign up today at ticketsforless.com/contest.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
Would you rather have to eat one hot dog every morning immediately after waking up for the rest of your life, or every time you touch a piece of paper, it cuts you and draws blood?
I would rather eat a hot dog every
100%.
morning.
Give me that dog. Kevin says
Yes,
wiping after using the bathroom. Toilet paper. Ouch.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Breezy and cool for your Tuesday. Expect cloud cover to stick around the first half of the day. Can't rule out some early spotty drizzle. Expect more sunshine in the afternoon, though there is a slight chance of a late day shower. North winds will continue to gust up to 35 miles per hour with highs in the low to mid 50s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Pyramid Roofing Time-Saving Traffic Center. Traffic picking up heavy stop-and-go I-680 northbound between Center and Pacific. Opposite direction I-680 southbound slow between Maple and Dodge. If you're traveling I-80 eastbound, get ready for things to be a little slower between 84th and 72nd. If you're traveling opposite I-80 westbound, not moving as quick between 42nd and 60th. And that usual Dodge eastbound morning traffic slowing down around 168th to 144th. Please stay safe and wear that seatbelt. I'm Peter Krenzer.
This time-saving traffic was brought to you by the Nebraska Lottery.
The Nebraska Lottery has raised over $978 million, which has helped provide more than 117,000 college scholarships, save wildlife habitats across the state, and fund new facilities at the Nebraska State Fair. The Nebraska Lottery, helping to build a better Nebraska.
Spring has arrived and Lanahan has everything you need to revitalize your landscape. Color perennials, shrubs, flowers, and fresh dug trees, all grown right here in Nebraska. Lanahan Nurseries, your homegrown headquarters since 1974.
The world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is available right at your fingertips in Iowa. The Circa Sports Iowa app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Iowa and experience high betting limits, tight money line splits, and exceptional customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Iowa. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-238-7633.
She posted about us just now.
Celebrities can't get enough of Beyond's bespoke skincare line.
She has 147 million followers. How do we monetize?
She needs a social media associate to help her with the hype.
We should repost this. Do we need a hashtag?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Email any of our shows anytime into the Equitable Bank inbox. At Equitable, we take banking personally. For me, John at 1620thezone.com. The Equitable Bank inbox from 1620 The Zone.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/radio and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free, with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. HIMS.com/RADIO.
Roofing, siding, and gutters. Make the right call with the rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard.
This is the official station of the NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament in Omaha. Follow all the action from the first tip-off to the final buzzer right here. Westwood One's coverage of March Madness is locally presented by Woodhouse Auto Family and is also locally brought to you by Cubby's Convenience Stores and Velocity Clinical Research in Omaha. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
All right, tonight, baseball, Nebraska and Creighton. The first of three meetings in this month. We don't need to say any more, but we will say a lot as we welcome in our good friend, Nebraska pitching coach Rob Childers joins us this morning on Mornings with Sharp and Handley on The Zone. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, guys. How we doing?
Good. How are you doing? I'm looking at numbers. I'm looking at performance. I'm looking at guys' body language. How would you assess your guys through 25 games?
Well, I'm incredibly proud of the entire group. They've been a lot of fun to be around. They've been connected. They've been together. We've had a lot of different heroes and a lot of different moments throughout the season, both offensively and defensively and on the mound.
The last time we talked to you, and I know that this is your common phrase amongst the pitchers in mastering the vanilla, looking at the way you guys have limited free passes this year compared to years prior, how much has that approach and what has been maybe the better part, the better way to say it is the simplified approach? What have you seen from your guys in just getting them to do the basic things?
Well, they've bought into everything that we've asked of them and just attacking the strike zone with their best stuff. And we have some very talented guys and very competitive guys. And when you do that, and force the other team to get 3 hits an inning to score, you've got a chance to avoid the crooked number innings and keep yourself in the game late. We've had a lot of different heroes. I think we have 12 saves throughout the course of, the first 25 games. And a lot of different guys have been in the grease at different moments.
How refreshing is it to you? Because I know how you work and what you demand. And if guys don't meet those standards, they don't pitch for you. But how rewarding is it to you that you've developed depth? You keep saying we have a different hero, but I'm looking at you're starting to develop starters that you can rely on and then guys in the bullpen that are complementing each other. How important has that been for you personally in your development of those guys being able to answer the bell? And you've got a plethora of options.
Well, it's been fun to watch them grow up and become who they're supposed to become individually and collectively. And, we've certainly had a great leader into the weekends in Brett Sears, and he plants the flag for us on Fridays and gives us an opportunity throughout the course of the weekend. But he's the one that dictates how it's going to be on the mound. And for us, throughout a 3-game series.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about this. We're seeing it in college baseball a lot more, the way that you're communicating with your pitchers and getting the message from dugout to catcher to pitcher, the comm devices. We see the wristband devices that are used in college baseball right now. Has everybody, as best to your knowledge, made a solid transition with that? Is that help things speed along and just help overall the rhythm of what you have on the mound too with your guys?
I love it. I think it makes the game go faster. And, 8 years ago, I was totally against it. And 5 years ago, we had 5 different sign systems that we would have to change in at bat if an at bat got long with a runner at second base. So we'd have to change in the middle of the at bat. And, having the pitch comm and having the wristbands, it just makes everything that much more seamless. And it also eliminates the sign stealing. And
Right.
there's some coaches and teams that are really, really good at it. And, it just eliminates that piece of it for us as a group. And I would say college baseball as a whole is better for it, where we're at right now with the technology.
Nebraska pitching coach Rob Childress joining us. You'll send Will Walsh out to the mound to start tonight, and he's 3-0. He makes his sixth start. How, from afar, as you work with him on the mound, how impressive is it and how difficult is it? Because not only is Will pitching as a starter, but he's also hitting as well, and he's doing a good job at the plate. Now, he doesn't hit as much. He's only been to the plate 18 times, but it seems like every time he's up, he's either hitting a home run or he's getting an extra base hit. How difficult is that for him to manage both?
He's such a mature kid. He's been able to do a great job of that, and has found his way into playing every day against left-handed pitching. And like you said, it's been a force from an offensive standpoint. But on the pitching side, he's a guy that's going to go out and manage the game and give our team a chance to win. And he throws 4 pitches for a strike. He's fearless in each and every count, and you're going to have to come take it from him. He's not going to create innings because he's setting up 3 base runners.
It was something that Will had brought up to me a couple of years ago when Will Walsh got to Bolt, that is, when talking about Will Walsh a couple of years ago when they had him. I know he had to battle through some injuries, but there was always something that the staff, and you remember too being there, really liked about Will Walsh. Does it start, Coach, with his competitiveness though? That seemed to be the thing that always people talked about him.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about people in general, there's victims and there's victors, and you get to choose each and every day whether you're going to be a victim or a victor. And Will Walsh, who's gone through 4 surgeries, I mean, from his toes all the way up to his elbows, he's had a surgery on, and most people would choose the victim mentality, but Will's always been the victor, and I think that's the reason he is where he is. I mean, he's always been the hero of his story. He's never said, why me? It's always been, why not me? And I'm going to embrace it, be a great model, for the rest of the guys in the locker room and the coaches too, as to what perseverance and toughness and, no excuses look like.
Has Mason McConaughey answered, hey, he looks like a starter to you?
100%. That guy has been unbelievable. And, so thankful for Cloud County for allowing us to recruit him after his freshman year. And that guy just comes to work every day and has gotten so much better from the day he showed up on campus in the fall to earning the opportunity to be in our rotation. And, certainly is not disappointed in his 2 starts.
Coach, was hearing a lot of great things coming out of the fall and going into this season about Casey Dice and what he brings, not necessarily the traditional closer that is going to blow you away with stuff that's going to come close in the upper 90s. But you look at arm slot, you look at the way the ball moves with his off speed. What have you seen from him, and where is the ceiling for a guy like Casey Dice right now?
Casey his heartbeat's really slow. He reminds me a lot of Brett Jensen that we had back in the day. And, different arm slot, has a tendency to get underneath the barrels, and, he may give up a single here or there, but he's not going to give up the double or the home run, knock on wood. But again, he's got a very, very slow heartbeat, and the moment's not too big for him. And I think that's the thing that, makes it comfortable to have him out there on the mound, when you got to be perfect. And he's certainly done a great job for us there at the end of games.
Hey, where did the idea start of taking a picture after every win?
I'm glad you asked.
Well, it started last year. Cal Perry had a Polaroid camera that did that. And he did it after each and every home run. Well, it turned into a pretty expensive gig for him because there were a lot of home runs hit last year.
Yeah.
So I think, and it was a personal decision on his part, so it was out of his own pocket. So I think that's where it kind of spun off from. And, we get those pictures and we put them up in the locker room after each win. And I think it just, was a galvanizing thing for us as a group that we get to celebrate each and every one of them because they're all hard to get. None of them are easy. The score may say otherwise, but, there's so many moments even in a game that the score would say we won going away, that there are moments that decide that, and they're all hard to get at this level. And, it was a tough weekend at Northwestern. tonight's going to be an absolute dogfight as well, with Creighton having another amazing year. So that'll be a lot of fun for the state of Nebraska.
Hey, before Nick asks you about tonight's game, are you still playing cards against the fellas, taking their money?
No, I think the word is spread through, our training staff and our sports information staff that I can't take anybody's lunch money anymore.
Got to keep that per diem, coach.
Anymore. That's right. I tried to get Meister to play earlier, and he doesn't want any part of it. And so I think Seamus just told the crew what they're up against if we get going on the bus.
I'm not sure about Greg, but I bet Ben McLaughlin would exchange a hand or two with you.
Yeah, well, I'll see if I can't talk those guys into it for fun.
So we were just spending some time in our last segment talking about Nebraska-Creighton, and you remember these days as a pitching coach and being on the staff. I was reminiscing about 2005 when not only did you guys play some really tight games against Creighton, but that was a College World Series team. You guys also had Creighton in your regional at Haymarket Park. A tremendous atmosphere. You guys prevail and go on, obviously, to beat Miami in the Super and go to the College World Series. But when you think of Creighton, when you think of this matchup that you get to have 3 times a year, weather permitting, what, as a coach, what comes to mind to you?
Well, it's going to be an incredible battle. There's so many in-state kids that have grown up playing together since they were 7, 8 years old that it's just going to be, we're going to get Creighton's very best, and they're going to get ours. Coach Service has done such a great job there for such a long time. They play with a chip on their shoulder. They play hard. They play fast. They're not going to make mistakes defensively. And, for this team, the 24 team at Creighton, they're incredibly offensive.
Yep.
They are very physical up and down the lineup, and, they're hard to deal with from a pitching standpoint, and you can't give them free base runners. They will just absolutely take you down if you create innings for them, because they're going to create enough innings for themselves because they can flat out hit. But those are that's the staple of Creighton baseball with Coach Service at the helm is they play hard, they play fast, and they're going to take care of the ball defensively, and they're always going to have a chip on their shoulder. So tonight is going to be it's not a normal Tuesday night game, right, for either team in terms of the juices that are going to be flowing. So I think that's a great thing.
I want to ask you this part of it too. And I'm glad you brought up Creighton's offense, because we've known in years past, if the 2-hole hitter gets on, you got a 3-hole hitter who might be batting over 400, might have 40, 50 RBI, yet he's going to put down a bunt. There's always going to be that station baseball, that situational baseball. Haven't seen that as much with this Creighton offense. And ironically, we're seeing a pretty solid run game with what you guys do too. But is that always in the back of your mind that small ball that Creighton maybe hasn't shown as much this year, but it is something that they still emphasize that you're aware of and that your infield and your pitchers playing their position are aware of?
Well, 100%. I mean, they can bunt and they can drag to start innings. They can bunt to move runners. But the guys that are doing that can also slug. So that's a luxury that Coach Service and his staff have. They can choose to do whatever they want to do because they have some physicality 1 through 9 that these guys are equipped to bunt if Coach asks them to do that, but they can also keep the line moving with the swing of the bat. And as you look at them, there's great balance. They're left and right-handed. They can run. They can, do a lot of things. I mean, anytime you're 25 games in and you're hitting over 300, you got an offense that can hit.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun tonight. Rob, as always, we appreciate chatting with you. Thanks for your time, and good luck tonight. And, of course, this weekend, a big Ten series at home.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
That's Rob Childress, Nebraska pitching coach. He's doing work. But he brought up, Ed has always had the small ball. We're going to bunt.
Yeah, not as much this year, though.
No, and Nebraska has bunted more this year.
Yep.
So they're at 21 sacrifices. They also are running the bases better.
Yep.
Slugging percentage is up. And they are, if you have not seen Nebraska play, they are a thorn in the side of pitchers because they take a lot of pitches. They foul a lot of pitches off. They drive up pitch counts. They get on base. They're a pain in the butt offensively. That's what Nebraska baseball has become. They don't have Anderson and Matthews hitting home runs all the time.
Right.
They're a deep 1 through 9. I give credit to Will because there was a lot of scrutiny last year about Will and where this program was going. And they kind of turned their roster over a bit. And he elevated Rob. He made a tough decision. And they have built some depth. I mean, they have a lot of options. I'm looking at guys that are injured right now that are trying to get back in the lineup. And I'm like, well, where is Such going to get in at bat? Because guys are playing really, really well. I mean, they're getting contributions from guys that were, I want to say fringe players, but were on the roster last year that you didn't really count on.
Yeah.
Now everybody's contributing. I mean, this has been a good start, but that's why you can't get ranked and then hit the wall today in a game that is so huge that might be just a handful of games that people pay attention to your program during the course of a season. Especially after a Kendall Rogers has,
right?
He's tried to fight off Nebraska fans all week
and
about,
now he's let
them
him
being ranked. Yeah,
he's let him in the club right now. I would echo that about their offense because going into the season, we had the discussion about how do you make up for the loss of two historically program history type bats in Bryce Matthews and Max Anderson. And you've been around baseball long enough as well. You're not going to it's not like Cole Evans and Josh Caron are going to come in and they're going to duplicate that. So you were going to need a group of guys to do that. And you're right. There are guys that have either struggled or guys that are injured that are looking to come back. One of the guys that I thought would be a big part of that would be Gabe Swanson. Right now, where can you have him? And so, but unsung heroes like Josh Caron. Josh Caron, we talked about last year. He gave you a glimpse every now and then, but to see the way that he's playing here as of late, leading the team in RBI and home runs.
Yeah, they walked the bases loaded to pitch to him the other day, and he hits a grand slam.
Right, and that's sometimes I don't want to say it's a blessing to lose two studs like you did a year ago, but what it does do, and give Will Bolt a lot of credit, is it forces a multitude of guys to be able to evolve, but also what you want to do in generating offense where you didn't necessarily have to rely on small ball. You didn't necessarily have to rely on situational and station type baseball to where you're getting guys over in scoring position. Now you do, and now it's emphasized because I can say this too, going back to 2016, even some of the better years for Nebraska when they were making an NCAA tournament, they were not a traditionally good bunting team. If there was a sacrifice situation, an obvious sacrifice situation, it was kind of a 50-50 proposition. Now they're doing that. They're confident. They have people all over their lineup that can do that. And what's interesting about Creighton is, I mean, they've got dudes 1 through 9 that Ed's now felt like he doesn't need to give the square around situation as opposed to, you know what, I think we can get this guy from first to third, being able to drive through the infield as opposed to getting him from first to second by giving up and out. So it is interesting to see the change of philosophies a little bit. And again, that's one of the many things that makes tonight's matchup very interesting.
All right. They need each other. We need
They do.
you. How about more than 2,500 people go to this game?
Yep.
Game's not on TV.
Hopefully you didn't put the parka away. You're going to need that. Although what's nice is, the wind's behind you at the stadium for the most part.
Yeah, you have 25,000 other people blocking it, so you'd be fine.
That's true.
One game downtown, one at Buck Belcher.
Oh, bring back the Buck. Man, I wish we still had that.
Might be a little bit tough. The dimensions would be a little bit off.
Yeah, they'd have to recreate it.
One
from
at
scratch.
Haymarket Park, one at, what are they calling that? What do they call it?
Charles Schwab Field.
Charles Schwab. And then one neutral site game somewhere in the state.
Where would you play it?
I was getting lambasted for this. I was bringing up maybe go to Duncan Field, Sioux City.
Oh, Duncan would be nice. Did they do anything with the? Well, no. Kearney High School still plays at the old college field there.
Why not where the Moose play in Fremont?
Oh no, you don't want to go there.
It's Mornings with Sharp and
Smells
Handley
weird.
at 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Big names, big games. We've got them all. 1620 The Zone.
We're going abroad for the first time in years. To Spain.
But we don't speak Spanish.
So we started using Babel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks. Babel's conversational method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babel's interactive bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish.
Estoy muy emocionado para ir a España contigo.
Aw, he just said, I'm very excited to go to Spain with you. Nos vamos a divertir mucho.
And that means we're going to have a lot of fun.
Sí. Gracias, Babel.
Babel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babel for free at babbel.com. Just go to babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's babbel.com. BABBEL.com.
At Cox Mobile, we know you're smart. You brush your teeth in the shower to save time, make coffee ice cubes for your cold brew, and wear goggles to cut onions. You also added Cox Mobile. So smart. Now you're running on the network with unbeatable 5G reliability and saving on your Cox internet. It's ingenious, just like you.
Aw, thanks.
Cox Mobile, the smart way to mobile. Cox postpaid internet required. Cox Mobile runs on the network with unbeatable 5G reliability as measured by Ookla LLC in the U.S. through H 2023. Other restrictions apply. Learn more at cox.com/mobile.
News Talk 1290 Coil is your radio home for Omaha Storm Chasers baseball, proud AAA affiliate of the Kansas City Royals. Tune in to hear every pitch, every hit, and every out as the Chasers play at Warner Park and across the International League in 2024. With the voice of the Omaha Storm Chasers, Nick Batters, on News Talk 1290 Coil.
The Storm Chasers traveled to Columbus to take on the Clippers. First pitch is scheduled at 5:15. Listen to the game on your home for Storm Chasers baseball. 1290 Coil.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
John and Josh here for the FanDuel Sportsbook. Friends, we love home runs. It might be, it could be, it is. Yes, FanDuel is starting Dinger Tuesdays. With Dinger Tuesdays from FanDuel, you can love the home run even more. All you have to do is bet on a player to hit a home run. And FanDuel will give you $5 in bonus bets for every home run hit during that game. That's right, Dinger Tuesdays from FanDuel. And all you have to do, Josh, is visit FanDuel.com/1620 and get in on Dinger Tuesday.
John, you know, last year I loved betting on Shohei Ohtani home runs, so I'm going to keep doing it again this year. Like you said, FanDuel will give you $5 in bonus bets for every home run hit during the game. All you got to do is go to FanDuel.com/1620 today to get in on all the Dinger Tuesday action. FanDuel.com/1620. 21 plus and present in Iowa. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max bonus $25 per game. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
1620 The Zone at 1620thezone.com. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Head to 1620thezone.com right now to check your picks in the basketball championship. Winner will receive $100 to Cops in Omaha. Check the leaderboard at 1620thezone.com.
Hey, turn to FS1 here. I just saw this little nugget come across.
But Gary, they're making chicken on the cooking show.
Whoa. And on cue. So this was a discussion. So Undisputed on FS1 is like record low ratings.
Mm-hmm.
They got Paul Pierce right now is wearing sunglasses. You got Key and then Skip Bayless.
Mm-hmm.
So they are talking about Iowa LSU. In the last week on FS1, not just this show, the other, talking head shows, The Herd and whatever is on in the afternoon after he's off the air. They last week talked about Caitlin Clark her name was mentioned 6 times on FS1. Would you like to take a stab at which player was mentioned 103 times?
Dak Prescott.
Yes, last week on FS1. So FS1.
I read that yesterday. I was like, yep, checks out.
Skip.
All by Skip Bayless.
Dak Prescott it's the Cowboys, it's America's team, it's the NFL. They don't really probably watch women's basketball. Maybe last night was the first time you watched women's basketball. So they don't talk about Caitlin Clark. Ironically, when we turned to it, they were talking about last night's Iowa LSU game.
It was Paul Pierce doing it.
And how Dak could help Iowa.
Now, here, Now, I'm going to give you, hey, Jimmy, you need to prepare yourself for something here.
Another no-hitter.
No. What the Cowboys are going to look like next year.
Oh, I know. Trust me. I've always known. 9-8.
No. Well, this year, but the following year.
Oh, the following
year.
Oh, yeah. That's when things can get very interesting.
So I don't know if you also caught this. The Colorado spring game, which is on the same day of Nebraska's spring game, will be carried on the Pac-12 network.
Which you can only watch in this studio.
So a school that is departing, instead of being on ESPN or Fox, the Colorado spring game will be on the Pac-12
That's got to be
network.
weird.
One last middle finger.
That's a bit awkward.
Oh, the Pac-12 can just love it.
So
they know what they're doing.
Yesterday, Dion announced that Warren Sapp will be a GA.
Yeah.
It just adds to week 2 here when Warren Sapp has to come back into Memorial Stadium, and I hope that they include on the tunnel walk all of the stuff from the championship game against Miami to welcome back the new GA on Dion's staff, Warren Sapp.
Warren Sapp on a knee, trying to catch his breath with Ray Lewis behind him, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. How do we stop these guys? Oh, it's an iconic photo where you've got the entire Nebraska offensive line. They're huddling. The entire Nebraska offensive line is kind of looking towards the Miami line of scrimmage, and you have about 3 out of the 4 on a knee. And then you've got other guys that just look completely dejected, where it looks like Nebraska is, we're good. We're
in
fine.
Their stadium, in their climate.
In the OB.
So it'll be cool because that's the final go-around. I'm convinced this will be Dion's last year because the kids are going to be out. Shedeur, who in a weak draft for a quarterbacks probably will be the number 1 overall quarterback taken. It's going to be a very weak draft
They look good
for
with
quarterbacks in
starting
2025. Did you see what also he has recently added to his car collection?
Who, Dion or Shedeur?
Shedeur. So he has the Cybertruck, the Tesla Cybertruck. It costs more than a full year's tuition at Colorado,
which is saying something.
Now, here's another thing, Jimmy, that you should be excited about. Speaking of Dak Prescott,
excitement,
because I think Dak Prescott will be gone after this year,
quarterback of the future.
Same.
And Deion Sanders will be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Shedeur Sanders will be the quarterback.
Ooh,
this is all setting up. If you listen to Deion talk about how he's going to dictate his kid's future,
and Jerry.
Yes.
So I go back to a question I posed a year ago. I need a new football team, and I will take suggestions until August.
I mean, I would say, hey, come over to the Chicago Bears side. But I don't want to put you through that.
No, you can get Dak Prescott then, and he'll actually have a lot of success in the new stadium with the Bears.
No, we're going to have Caleb Williams, and he's going to be the answer.
So one more year in Boulder. Who knows what their season's going to look like. And then they'll be gone because he wants to coach his kids, and he'll leave the Colorado football program in shambles, and he'll go and he'll be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys with his kid as the quarterback of the Cowboys.
Or he still has
it makes perfect sense.
Oh, it's such a Jerry Jones thing, too.
Oh, that's
especially
the other
given
thing
his ties to Dallas, and this is where you just can't help yourself if you're Steven and Jerry Jones.
Thank God for you two.
By the way, the cyber
and I think Colorado fans, if they have another poor season, would be okay with it.
Oh yeah,
they'll be okay with a poor season.
No. Everybody moving on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think so.
Let us have our program back.
Bring some normalcy back to the program.
Let us have a coach that actually knows, how you recruit. And it's okay to do in-home visits. Okay? Instead of treating a place where, we can have our friends and our kids play football that plays real college football.
Yeah.
Colorado used you used Colorado. 2 years, it's fine. Move on. You'll be in the NFL next year, and you can coach your son.
You got attention.
I think it'd be absolutely fascinating in Dallas next year.
The Cyber Beast truck, by the way, on a side note, you guys remember the Dominator that they drive around for storm chasing? It looks exactly like a Dominator. Would you drive that car? Or let it drive you?
No, I personally wouldn't.
It looks like a Dominator. If you saw that truck on the road, you would think, "Oh God, where are they going? Must be a tornado somewhere."
So where I first saw this is the Kardashians. Kim Kardashian owns a Cybertruck.
And many would argue a dump truck.
It's very. I don't know how to describe it. It does. It looks like a tornado intercepting vehicle. Is what it looks like. Best way I can
just another addition to that game on week number 2. But Warren Sapp will be in Memorial Stadium.
Night game.
I feel like
now hold on. Is he I wonder where he'll be located during games. Will he be on the sidelines? Because if he's up in the coaching booth, there was the famous, and I first saw it at the Nebraska bookstore, and it was a painting of Warren Sapp with his oxygen mask on.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great to put it in the booth?
Yeah.
You know how they have the pictures along in the back wall of the press box leading to the suites? Hell, that one might even exist somewhere. I know they have it. They could pop that thing up in no time. Yeah, you have to. You got to lean into this if you're Nebraska.
Have some fun with it.
So if you'd like to check out Colorado football, you'll have to go get the Pac-12 network to see their spring game.
Come to the studio.
ESPN passed on Colorado's spring game.
That tells you something.
And they even told them that Lil Wayne will perform, which he is.
Yeah.
And ESPN was like, no, we're good.
Pac-12's like, hey, we know you're leaving, but hey, come on over.
It was fun for a year. All
It was. It really was.
Brian Christopherson coming up next.
More with Gary and Nick after this on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Pyramid Roofing Time-Saving Traffic Center. A crash on 204th Street has caused the area between Ames and Fort to be closed both north and southbound. At this time, do avoid this area if this is part of your usual morning commute. That Dodge westbound traffic between 108th Avenue and 120th Street still pretty heavy. Stop and go. No other accidents, obstructions, or slow-moving traffic to report. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Stay safe and wear that seatbelt. I'm Peter Krenzer.
This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Sol's Jewelry and Loan.
So with Sol's Jewelry and Loan dealing with designer bags, what is another option that our clients have if they don't want to actually sell their item?
If you're looking to borrow some money, you don't necessarily want to get rid of it. We can hold on to it for safekeeping until you're ready to come pick it back up.
The Zone Hotline is powered by 42 Degrees, The Source, by your mom's house.
Hey, it's Happer for the FanDuel Sportsbook, and ladies and gentlemen, baseball is back. Dingers, blasts, moonshots, whatever you'd like to call them, everyone loves them some home runs. Chicks dig the long ball. And with FanDuel's Dinger Tuesdays, you can love them even more. That's right, Dinger Tuesdays are back for another season on America's #1 sportsbook. All you have to do is bet on one single player to hit a home run, and FanDuel will give you $5 in bonus bets for every home run hit in that game. Once again, bet on a player to hit a home run, and FanDuel is giving you $5 in bonus bets for every home run hit in that game, as if you needed another reason to love the long ball. Head to FanDuel.com/Happer and get in on all the Dinger Tuesday baseball action. FanDuel.com/Happer. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. 21 and over, present in Iowa. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max bonus $25 a game. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call in the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate restrictions apply. Details and important safety information.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/radio. Through HIMS, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you. Discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at HIMS, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/radio and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free, with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. hims.com/radio.
This is the official station of the NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament in Omaha. Follow all the action from the first tip-off to the final buzzer right here. Westwood One's coverage of March Madness is locally presented by Woodhouse Auto Family. and is also locally brought to you by Cubby's Convenience Stores and Velocity Clinical Research in Omaha. Tickets for less. Best seats, best prices, no service fees. Shop ticketsforless.com. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
All right, time to welcome our good friend, Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7. Good morning, BC.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm great.
Okay.
Good.
That's good to know.
Did you have a good Easter?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Hung out with the family in Omaha. Got into some competitive board games late at night. So that was good. Played a little Balderdash. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
That is old school.
Yeah.
Nice.
So there you go. Really wild time.
All right, let's stick with competition. Because people are trying to get gear that includes the Bug Eaters, the Rattlesnake Boys, or the Old Gold Knights.
Yeah.
Previous head coaches around here, if they would have explained what Rule explained last Thursday about how they're dividing up the teams for the younger players to compete, we would have rolled our eyes. When we heard that last Thursday, and then we hear like a guy like Fedoni talk about it, we go, ooh, this is awesome. What's the difference?
I don't know if I would have rolled my eyes in the past, but you're right. Some of the coaches that went over as well. I think Rule he's good at explaining, things up there. Like he's good at explaining stuff like that. He was good, 2 or 3 weeks ago on that first Monday when there was a transition period in place with the athletic director, and his first 12 minutes were spent sort of on that topic. He just has a very good personality up front at the podium, genuine, kind of funny with it sometimes, and I think people enjoy that. And also, he told us a few weeks ago we're going to ramp up the competition. He's always said, like, you tell someone to do 35 third down drills just on the surface, they're going to kind of groan about it at some point. It's like, okay, this is just boring part of practice. But if you say there's winners and losers here, we're keeping score, someone's writing this down on the ledger about who's victorious, people kind of get fired up. It's the same like if someone busts out the Balderdash at Christopherson house on Easter evening. Like I get pretty competitive with my wife and with the family. So I get it. Like that's the way we're wired, and so I get it, especially why you'd want to do that with the guys. I just hope the fight songs are good. I don't know if they're out. When I was a kid coming back from Nebraska games, my favorite part was the scoreboard show. Where you didn't know what the top 25 did that day, so they would run it down, and there'd be like an old Notre Dame choir kind of singing their fight song in the background as the Terry Leahy or somebody went through the top 25, and that to me, like I hope those songs kind of match that. If people of a certain age will know what I'm talking about.
Oh yes, the Terry Leahy scoreboard on KFAB. It was fantastic, and the music. Yeah, that was the Hartford Whalers stole the song. Okay, so the way Rule has approached the offseason, and then you also hear the players, and I know that you and I talked about this kind of at the tail end of last year, and everybody knows the history of Rule in year 2, but then they're like, yeah, man, year 3. Do you think the timetable for what Rule saw last year and what he acquired going into 24 has moved up his timetable of I want to win now instead of let's build, and then let's pop, if that makes sense?
Yeah, well, I think he was honest about it from the beginning, even last offseason, that he thought things were in place more here than his other stops, where they could get there maybe a little bit quicker. Now, he hasn't declared that's going to happen or anything like that, but I think he saw that the template was in order. And you know what? He gave credit to past, some of the coaches who have been here and assistants that did a really good job with certain players about having them in a certain place where they were guys who were easy to work with off the bat for the most part. I think they found that despite this being a program that has struggled to just make a bowl game. It actually wasn't just like a down and out guys who don't want to get out there and go after it sort of deal. I mean, there were, you got your Giffords and your Ty Robinsons and guys like that in this program when they got here, and they thought, well, this is better than like 4-8 or 5-7 should be. So yeah, let's speed it up a little bit. I think that's been in the back of their mind, and we'll see if that can happen or not. But I think from the outset, he's kind of said that was a hope of his.
We made, and we do this every year, Brian, when it comes to spring, when spring gets over, and whether it's looking at the spring game itself or just the overall commentary coming from the coaches out of spring football. With Matt Rule given, and we're going to hear from Tony White this week as well, there's a lot of trust with what these coaches have to say. And I know you got to be careful with what you take as gospel, but when it does come to the evaluation of the spring from this coaching staff, knowing what you know from them, knowing what you for the most part, know about this roster, how much of what they have to say from an evaluation standpoint in that final media availability with Matt Rule after the spring game will you be able to apply to what you kind of expect going forward into the summer and into the fall?
It's a good question. I mean, I think they're going to want to have a pretty good read on, who their main guys are, on their 2 deep by the end of the spring. And I think they've already got an idea with some of the veterans, but now it's about, you've got some of these guys, like, let's just go to the secondary. I was looking at when we were bouncing around on Thursday, and you see like Ethan Nation, and you see Jeremiah Charles, and you see Bly Hill. And I don't know if I'm taking your question exactly down the right road, but there's all these guys at the DB spot and wide receiver in particular, where I think these next 12 practices are just huge and like kind of determining. You might know at certain spots, okay, maybe these are the top 3 or 4 guys, but who are like those guys who are like, 5 through 8, or maybe they're going to be higher than that, but the guys who are sort of filling out that where it's like, you got a real rotation here. And I'll go back to receiver. I think in the off season around here for a long time, you can talk yourself in the spring to like, oh, I like 7 or 8 guys. Like you can name them on paper and you can kind of convince yourself like, oh, that's going to be all right. But then there's been too many years, most of the years lately, where you get to the fall and by late October, there's games where there's like, you're feeling like, man, they've only got like 3 guys you really trust at wide receiver. And then like Billy Kemp is hobbling around and you're like, okay, what do they do now? And so I think the biggest part of this spring to me is, can they make that a reality, that like that Kool-Aid hope of Husker fans when they talk about rotations, and where it's like, this is actually a group of 7 to 9 guys who you can legitimately play and feel really good about. They did that last year at the defensive line, if you want a positive example. I really thought they took that step last year. But now can they get that like at wide receiver? I think they were trending that way with defensive back, but sort of solidify that notion that they're that kind of deep unit. And then you're hopefully cooking with gas in the rest of the way, in years past where it's sort of a cycle and it kind of feeds itself after a certain point. But they've got to get there with certain position groups, and wide receiver probably heads the list to me.
Yeah. Did you watch Dylan just flick it with ease on Thursday?
Yeah, he did fine. I mean, I saw him for about 3 minutes, and I'd say flicked it with ease. That's what people want to hear, right? I mean, they were working against air, so you're supposed to hit every pass if you're that level guys. But I like what you hear from the coaches about like Dylan and how he, shows up at like 6 a.m. in the winter to throw before his 10:30 lift. And, I think there's real stuff there where I don't think any of those guys, from what I've heard, are just resting on, I was a big time recruit and everybody wanted to know where I was going to go, sort of deal. Like, I don't think him or Danny Kalen are wired that way. Mm-hmm. I don't think Heinrich's wired that way. I think he's an ultra competitive dude. And so that's good. I mean, you've got guys who know, probably appreciate the journey they've been on, but the past is the past. And if you're an 18-year-old quarterback over there, the 22-year-old dudes don't care that you were a 4-star or whatever. None of that matters at this point. It's what what are you going to give to this team? How can you earn respect? And I think from what I've gathered, those guys have the type of mindset where they've kind of moved on to what's next, as they always say over there.
Brian, compare, I know it was a limited capacity a year ago at spring ball when you had a chance to see some of these practices, but can you compare what you saw from a structural standpoint to what you saw last week? If it looks dramatically different, if it doesn't look different at all, or how it appeared to you in year two on how they operate?
I can't say it was like this just night and day difference. Yeah. Like, I mean, I felt like, and that's actually kind of a credit to last year.
Yeah.
I didn't feel that last season when we showed up was just people like, oh, where do we go? I do remember though, we were over there a time or two and Rule had to stop. He stopped at one time very loudly. And they had to sort of reorchestrate or recalibrate what they were doing a little bit. And so, that didn't happen when we were over there. And I do think there's a definite deal where now you've got your Giffords of the world and your Nashes who like, this is how it goes. And they can kind of tell the younger players, this is what to expect here. And there's probably a lot of use in that. So it did look like a crisp, 20 to 25 minutes that we saw. I think the biggest thing I took away though, was Rule has talked about how when he looks out on the field, like he likes how this team looks like off the bus, sort of athletically and all that. And I would go with that. Like I agreed with like when you bounced around and you see like even a newcomer like Bly Hill and just how long he is and certain guys, you're like, okay, yeah, that's how you want your team to look off the hoof, and now let's see what they can do with it. But they've got the right type of body types and all that. Teddy Prohaska looks to me like the Bryce Benhart story of last year and how he's leaned out and things like that. And so that's encouraging because we saw what Bryce did with that body make last season, and so you kind of hope Teddy can do it. So you see things like that, and those I guess are the little glimpses of encouragement maybe from a quick pop in, pop out sort of deal.
Give me the first player, because I agree with you. Body type, they look more like a Big Ten team or a major college football program. Give me a player or two when you get to put eyeballs on them for the first time. And also on the caveat of Corey Campbell had a really good 8 weeks to get guys looking a little bit different. Give me a player where you went, man, that's a dude. Like simply a dude. He looks the part, also helps to play the part, but you went, that's a dude.
Banks and Nair look like dudes at receiver. It immediately changes your sort of hope of that position group when you see veterans like that. Then, watching Ja'Cory Barney as a freshman move around and how fluid he is, like you're like, okay, those are the kind of guys you want in there. Probably the biggest one though was when I was watching sort of the D linemen edge guys, and these are not new names, but you see Jamari Butler up close. And sometimes I'm like, man, we don't talk enough about Jamari Butler, like for a guy who led in sacks and TFLs, and that's a dude. Like Jamari Butler, he's got an edge to him, and you see him up close. Nash, and I know in like a month or month and a half, whenever the draft is, there's going to be some hand wringing because it's going to be a rough draft in Nebraska. It just is. It's going to be one of those where like, are they going to get a guy picked, sort of deals. Like we've had a couple of these lately, and you're going to see that frustration, and I understand it. I would remind people when that day comes, think about how happy you are that Ty Robinson, that your Nashes, your Bryce Benhart, that they're right now getting ready for a 24 season in Nebraska. And so that came to my mind because I've written about like, oh, this could be a difficult draft, and I wish all those guys well. I hope some of those, the Reimers and those guys get their opportunities. But I think it could be a tough draft on paper. And I was thinking like, well, the good side is there's guys who came back who could have been a part of that. And I think next year it can take off a little bit, but be happy that they're still in Lincoln on that day when it's not a great day, maybe perception wise for Nebraska or whatever.
To add to Gary's question, the dude category, what about Dante Dowdell? What was your impression of him physically?
I only saw him for like a minute. I think he's impressive looking right away. I mean, the drill I happened to see, he like kind of tripped and fell. So like it was one of those where,
That happens.
yeah, I mean, it's spring. That's what happens. But so I mean, they were stressing ball security over there. Like he looks the part. He's really put together. He's that Big Ten back they want to be. Now let's see if he can make people miss and actually when you're playing get those 2 to 3 extra yards. And I've been on repetition about this. Like Nebraska's got to have that back who turns 2-yard gains to 4-yard gains, and that will be one of the biggest differences for the program when they have that player. And I don't sell short Emmett Johnson either over there. I think he is one of the best athletes on the roster. I think everybody kind of was looking past him last year, and he got to a certain level, and maybe to some degree people are going to look past him this year because everybody's going to talk about Del Dowell and everybody else, and let's see if Emmett makes a little bit of a run. It was good seeing Ramir out there as well. But I thought Del Dowell looked good at first glance, but that's really all I could probably say about it without just talking out of my backside.
Hey, let's shift to basketball real quick. Williams, Gary Mask, all portal guys. Fred Hoiberg's now got to go find some portal guys to supplement the roster that has lost 7 of your top 12 players, either by the portal or they are out of eligibility. Has Fred developed enough cachet when I mentioned like those 3 guys or even a Derek Walker or Sam Griesel who are portal guys that you don't have to worry about as many spots that Nebraska has to fill as they do right now?
I think he's developed a success rate the last 2 years where you're optimistic. But I understand where people are nervous, and this is going to be a thing every year now across college basketball, not just here but everywhere, where it's like, we just got to get our brains around it. Like, oh, I thought that guy was going to be here another year. You kind of like you like this idea that's to romanticize about like growing old with players, sort of. You know what I mean? Like you're going to see Jamarcus Lawrence all the way through. You're going to see C.J. Wilcher all the way through. And when it doesn't happen, it's still tough for some of us to stomach who are used to it a certain way. But I think the good thing is this staff knows the climate we're in. They've adjusted to it. They have the mentality that you have to have nowadays where it's like, I'm not going to be wistful about what was or what used to be. This is how it is, and we're going to go out there. And I can prove that by, 15 minutes after the loss to A&M or half hour, however long it was, he's in the post game, and Fred was talking about the portal and like it's open now, like we're going to work now. So they've been at this and they've been cooking up some stuff, and I know people are tracking the plane right now, and that they're up north, and it looks like Oregon maybe got a visit. Maybe they look at Connor Hickman today. Played with Massive Bradley. Indiana wants him too. He's a Bloomington kid, but going through Minnesota, we'll see if any of those guys, if they're kicking the tires on any of those old Gophers. I don't know. So there's a lot of good names out there. So you can make your team as good or not better than it was. But I also understand why people are anxious until you actually have them in the boat. And I'm sure the coaches are too, honestly.
Yeah, it's the new norm of college basketball. BC, as always, appreciate it. Have a great week.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
It's Brian Christopherson of Husker 24/7. Andrew Morgan was at North Dakota State. Post player, one of the better players in the Summer League. Thought he was headed to Minnesota, but Nebraska's in to see him. And Nebraska's in a good spot with Malik Ewan, who is the #1 junior college player. I think it's going to be a battle between them and Malik. They're in a good position there to pick up the post play.
I think you need to do maybe you could do of Summit League talent right now. That needs to be on because
I know they're coming back in the Summit League.
I know. That's why we need to know. All right.
No,
who's the best?
Because
I'll
bring attention to guys. The next thing you know, they're transferring.
Contacts. Yeah, we need you to save this. Can have you work.
I should be the commissioner of the Summer League, just for basketball. Yeah. The other stuff, let Josh handle that.
Yeah.
The basketball.
They could. They could have a basketball. What'd you call that? Like the commissioner of basketball. What's Garth Listman's role with the SEC?
The associate commissioner of the SEC in charge of basketball.
There you go. I like that position. I know the SEC may have a few more dollars, a few more shekels than the Summer League, but improve the product. I like that idea.
at a conference being treated like the junior college. Hey, can you develop a guy? A nice pickup in the recruiting there. We looked at that guy. Can you develop him? Can you have him do this to his game?
Right.
So that in 2 years we can have him.
Yes. How do you think the coaches feel about that? I mean, it's the reality. It is. It's not like you can. Oh, I hate this.
It actually, if you want to find a positive, it shows that there are some really good coaches in the Summit League that have done a good job of unearthing talent that's been overlooked and developed.
And that benefits them if they're looking for the job at the next place too, as well,
Sometimes
right?
it doesn't, because sometimes when you have to go replace a 20
Well,
not all those hanging on the tree.
you don't get those W's that are just hanging around the following year. I get that.
Andy Kennedy's still to come. Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Previously on The Crossover.
I have mostly sports things that I want nothing to do with muted.
Okay.
Major League Baseball, muted. Baseball, muted.
Don't you love the Mets?
I did. Yeah. Mahomes, Chiefs, Harbaugh, Wolverines, Michigan, FIFA World Cup,
Goal,
Qatar,
Goal.
World Cup, VAR, USMTNC, World Cup, Wordle. I got lots on here.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley. The Connor Happer Show. Unsportsmanlike conduct. 6A to 6P. 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Breezy and cool for your Tuesday. Expect cloud cover to stick around the first half of the day. Can't rule out some early spotty drizzle. Expect more sunshine in the afternoon, though there is a slight chance of a late day shower. North winds will continue to gust up to 35 miles per hour with highs in the low to mid 50s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
Hey, baseball fans, join the Blur Tailgate at Hilton Omaha this June for our 12th annual hospitality event during the College Baseball Championship Series. Book an experience for your clients or employees with an inclusive bar, buffet, TVs, music, and tailgate games. Secure your spot today and let Blur Events take care of all the work so you can enjoy the day. Plus, we're just steps away from Charles Schwab Field. Visit blurevents.com to book your group, buy tickets, or learn about sponsorships. That's blurevents.com, your college baseball and football tailgate destination.
If you're looking to upgrade your kitchen or bathroom or create a functional storage solution for your closets, pantry, or garage, make Level countertops, cabinets, and flooring your first choice to take your space to the next level. Level is a unique company that can design, build, and install custom cabinetry, fabricate and install all countertop surfaces, and supply and install floor finishes and tile. Stop into the showroom at 192nd and West Maple today or visit levelomaha.com. That's levelomaha.com.
McSitley Restaurant by Chef Alberto Cardenas offers you an authentic Mexican cuisine experience with the traditional flavors of your favorite Mexican dishes with an innovative touch. At McSitley Restaurant, they offer you the experience of tasting Mexico in every bite. The best tacos, birria, quesadillas, and more. Visit them at McSitley Restaurant in downtown Omaha at 16th and Harney, and look them up on Facebook at McSitley Restaurant or call 531-772-0550 to order. J-Tech Construction, the official exterior experts of the Huskers, offers exterior solutions that help you protect your number one investment. Whether it's roofing and siding or windows and doors, they're committed to excellence, quality, and outstanding customer service in every step of the process. When it's time to protect the exterior of your home, your choice is simple. Turn to who the Huskers turn to, J-Tech Construction. Check them out online and schedule a free estimate today. J-Tech Construction, the official exterior experts of the Huskers.
Baseball season is here again, and Tickets for Less has another reason for you to root for the Royals all season long. When Kansas City scores 7 or more runs in a game this season, you can get 7% off your next ticket purchase at ticketsforless.com. Simply use the promo code Royals7 at checkout the day after the Royals score 7 or more runs to redeem your discount. But be sure to act fast. The code will expire at the first pitch of the next scheduled Royals game. Learn more today at ticketsforless.com/Royals.
Now back to Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
So I brought this up earlier. on the heels of what Caitlin Clark did last night. We get Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers against each other Friday night in the national semifinal. Iowa under Caitlin Clark, 0-2 against UConn. She hasn't shot well. That was like about 23 points. I think she's 6 of 23 from three-point range. And also because the WWE is writing the script for women's college basketball. Remember Gino said a couple of weeks ago that Paige Beckers is the best player?
Yep.
Now he coaches against Caitlin Clark, and he's got all week to talk about Caitlin Clark.
Or all week to talk about Paige Beckers. Is where I tend to think that conversation will shift. Is he will just talk about his players, but in this conversation, his player. Yeah. Gino does. Gino, hey, he promotes his team, and he should. They're good.
This might be one of his better years. They lost 5 starters, 5 McDonald's All-Americans essentially to injury, and he is back in the Final Four. But Caitlin Clark will be the biggest stage. And I was thinking the most, or actually the must-watch athletes. You can only have 3 must-watch athletes right now. Caitlin Clark is one of them. You got 2 others that, regardless of where you are, if you are at your daughter or your son's wedding, and that player is performing, that you're going to have your phone out watching what they're doing.
Because I can think of some baseball players, but is it to the level that I actually have my phone out watching? I always don't think of it that way. Just think of it as they're just a great, like I tried last night with a couple of home runs. Yeah, I think Ronald Acuna is one of those guys that is just he can do it all. Football, you got just 3. Yeah, or you can be all from the same sport. Correct.
It doesn't have to include Caitlin Clark.
It actually does for me right now because it has drawn me in a lot more to not just watching Iowa, but to watching women's college basketball. And when Caitlin Clark was playing, I found myself watching a lot more Iowa basketball than I ever thought I would. And then for me, probably still go Patrick Mahomes. I still look at the things that he does. As long as they're not competing in a similar time slot as the Chicago Bears, where that's where my attention is going to be. I can't even direct it to like a second TV. The Chiefs are playing. I'm watching them. I despise the Chiefs, but there's just something about the way 15 plays that you can't help yourself. So I would say those are my 3.
I think my 3 must-watch athletes: Caitlin Clark, Patrick Mahomes, and then I will go with Wendy. If you are not watching him, the Spurs have had a rough season. He is as advertised. He's unbelievable.
You know, and I got to put in context. I don't know if a lot of people that are just sports fans in general will tune into hockey to see that because you still have Connor McDavid as well.
I said 3. You got like 6 people.
Yeah, I'm gonna add. Okay, for me personally, I'm gonna put in Connor Bedard over.
Okay.
But Caitlin Clark has to get mentioned because I've watched a lot more Iowa basketball this year because of her. Not because I'm a big Lisa Luder fan or I really like her system. She's drawn me in. So that is worth something. But yeah, I'll go Bedard and Patrick.
I had Steph Curry in there and I moved him out. I think there's also like this weekend, you watch people that play at a high level get gassed. The fact that Zach Edey played 39 minutes and had 40 on Sunday and 300 pounds adds to his lure, which I'm starting to like Zach Edey because he has haters. A lot of people are hating on Zach Edey. Do we get more excited by the prowess of a big man who at 7'4", 300 pounds, or what Shaq was, or even DJ Burns, or the little fella or gal that was a Tominaga Curry Clark that can do wonderful. Now Clark's a little bit taller, but smaller athletes that do big things. Smaller athletes. Do we like the biggins or the little ones?
Little ones. For me personally, because of the way that they create in all different areas of the court. I mean, it's great to see a dominant big man, but the range of what they're doing, it's effective, it's impressive, but to turn shots away, to go block to block, to dunk, it becomes repetitive a lot.
Are you Mr. He's only good because he's tall guy?
No, it just becomes repetitive. Where I like to see a step back three. I like to see a crossover taken off of an ISO, being able to get to the rim. I like to see how you create shots all over the floor. So, yeah. And I know there's big men that sometimes step out and have range. I mean, Wemby's a great example of that. But as far as the true bigs, the traditional bigs, yeah, give me the guard that creates a lot. It's more exciting to see how are they going to score on this possession? How are they going to score on this possession? I know how Zach is. He'll dunk over you.
I hate Zach Edey. Now today is the thing about how many 3-second calls he should get. Maybe you should reassess your life if you're spending a lot of time wondering, does Zach Edey get away with being in the lane too long?
Go watch golf and call in some rule violations too while you're at it. I feel like you're the same person. If you're yelling at your TV, 3 seconds.
Yeah.
3 seconds.
The one thing that Caitlin Clark does, if you've ever been, have you seen her in person?
I've never seen her in person, no.
Have you ever been to you ever seen a grown man naked?
Whoa. I do like movies of gladiators, though.
You've been to a live wrestling event, right?
I have, a long time ago, yes.
Okay, so you know what a pop is.
A pop.
For the crowd. Like, you hear the entrance music and the place goes
Oh, sure.
nuts.
Yeah.
There is something that she has accomplished that very rarely in my times of watching players play is when she hits a three, like a logo type three, the pop that you hear in a building. And I heard that a couple of times last night.
Yep.
So that adds to her. Well, if you ever, no, she's also going to be somebody who I don't think they're going to win the Final Four. I think South Carolina was way too good and too deep. And they are so much better coach than LSU is. So Don Staley's not going to let stuff like last night happen that got in the way of LSU. Is Caitlin Clark has a chance to do something in her sport is to be a GOAT without a ring.
Mm-hmm.
In a ring society, you have to have a ring to be in a GOAT conversation. She is in a very small conversation, usually at the top, and I don't think I'll have a ring.
I would ask this for a lot of people who started watching her last year. And remember that they lost to LSU in the national championship game. What would a ring actually do to her status? Because I can't imagine it being any bigger.
I would solidify any of this discussion about being a GOAT, like Cheryl Swoops against Caitlin Clark, Lisa Leslie against Caitlin Clark. She'd have a ring, she'd have records, she'd have a movement in the sport. Then there wouldn't be a discussion.
I look at the here and now, though, and the presence that she has here and now, and I can't imagine her presence being any bigger than it is already. National championship or not.
I don't think it would add to her presence. I think if you were in a discussion about, if you had a hesitation on her being the GOAT, she has a ring.
Yeah.
And that's where you stop.
It is, and it's rare. You're right. In every sport that we watch, every sport that we ever talk about, you hold athletes to the highest regard because we just mentioned Patrick Mahomes. He's must-see football. He's must-watch, but he also has the hardware to go with it. It's very rare that you will watch someone leave their place in college basketball right now as we're having this conversation and not win a ring, yet you will look back and say, damn.
Look at Zach Edey. Zach Edey wins a ring. He's going to be back-to-back National Player of the Year.
Yep.
What does that do to his discussion? Now, I don't know that I'm putting him right there with Bill Walton and Wilt, but it's under consideration if Zach Edey is a national champion with back-to-back National Player of the Year honors and everything else that he's accomplished in his career.
Consistent, dominant.
But Caitlin Clark has a chance to be one of those rare at the top of her sport that would be in a GOAT discussion and doesn't have a ring.
Yep.
Andy Kendi has many rings, including the most important one on his left hand.
Oh,
there you go. That's a good segue. He'll join us next on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. For the Jays, the Huskers, and even you Jayskers, we are 1620 The Zone.
Forget the drive to Colorado or Missouri. Stop into any Omaha 42 Degrees and indulge in a curated cannabis experience. Premium flower, cannabis, pre-rolls, and cannabis accessories paired with an elevated customer service experience. All are waiting for you at 42 Degrees. From novices to connoisseurs, we're here to elevate your cannabis journey. 42 Degrees, your destination for top-tier cannabis, second to none product selection, and exceptional service. By your mom's house.
It's Champion's replacement window season, and we're celebrating with buy 2 windows, get 2 free. If your windows are drafty, difficult to operate, or costing you money on your energy bill, it's time to replace them. Champion Windows is here to help. Champion builds our own windows right here in the USA. We make the process easy. We help you choose the best design options for your home. We then build your project in our very own factory. Our install team manages your project every step of the way, and it's all backed by our lifetime guarantee. Turn your house into your dream home with more livable space in a new Champion sunroom, or enhance your curb appeal with new siding, now 30% off. Don't wait, this sale won't last long. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, and 30% off sunrooms and siding. Call 877-GO-CHAMPION or visit championsavenow.com to schedule a free in-home estimate today. All discounts apply to our regular prices. Select styles apply. Minimum purchase required. Cannot be combined with other advertised offers. See store or website for details.
We're going abroad for the first time in years. To Spain.
But we don't speak Spanish.
So we started using Babel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks. Babel's conversational method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babel's interactive bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish.
Estoy muy emocionado para ir a España contigo.
Aw, he just said, I'm very excited to go to Spain with you. Nos vamos a divertir mucho.
And that means we're going to have a lot of fun.
Sí. Gracias, Babel.
Babel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babel for free at Babel.com. Just go to Babel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babel.com. Babbel.com.
We're completely ready to adopt a teen.
For late nights writing English papers.
For your teen's music taste.
For dinners, where they talk more on their phone than with you.
For the first time, they call you mom.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen, and you can't imagine the reward.
To learn more about adopting a teen, visit adoptuskids.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Email us on the Equitable inbox with whatever is on your mind. The Zone inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. You can hit me up, agree, disagree, tell me your thoughts on life at Handley at 1620thezone.com. We want to hear from you on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox.
Watching a ball game at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is pretty awesome. Oscar's offers the MLB package, so your team is always on their upgraded audio-video system, and nothing is better than watching the game with a cold frosty one, Oscar's Pizza, or award-winning char-buffed wings. And with daily lunch and dinner specials, it's really a no-brainer. So get ready to watch your favorite team play ball at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, 173rd and West Center Road, and takeout at 162nd and Maple.
Get signed up for this year's Leahy Clausen Maverick Run, Saturday, April 20th at Baxter Arena. This race has something for every type of runner, with a 1-mile kids race, a 5K walker run, or a 10K run. New this year, the 5K and 10K courses are certified, and there's a kids zone inside Baxter Arena. The event starts at 8 a.m. Saturday, April 20th. Go to omavs.com/Maverick Run for more information and get signed up. Proceeds go to Omaha Women's Athletics. It's the Maverick Run at Baxter Arena, April 20th. See you there.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
All right, time to welcome in our good friend from KETV, Andy Kendi, who is back off the road. Now things will slow down a little bit, or at least we hope for him and his family can reunite with everybody. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Morning, boys. What's happening?
Not much. Nicely done the last couple of weeks by you, Lauren and Matt, all over the country, covering Creighton, Nebraska, and UNO hockey.
Thank you. That was a big-time juggling job. But, yeah, Lauren had to pivot the quickest, going from women's hoops to hockey in like a 24-hour period. But she handled it like a champ, no question.
This little run too, when we saw both Nebraska men, Creighton women, Nebraska women, and then you add in hockey. Just from what you do, from what you guys have to organize too, I know it is a lot, but would you have it any other way?
No, this has never happened, and it was the busiest stretch and probably the most fun that we've had in March. I mean, it's just been crazy. People, I don't know if you guys know this about me. I complain a lot. Yes, I complain a lot. I complain a ton. And I was complaining a bunch, but you work all these consecutive days, and you look back, you're like, God, that was awesome. Like, there was a priority. You guys have been around the block. There's not many markets who throw this much oomph behind their sports department, and Omaha is one of the rare places that says, you know what? There's a women's basketball team playing out in Corvallis. Yeah, let's go to it. Hey, there's a hockey team playing in Sioux Falls. Let's do it. There's men's basketball out, wherever. Let's do it. So Memphis and Pittsburgh and wherever the heck we were. It was pretty cool to see, and it's not taken for granted because I've been in places where like, we'll get them if they make it to the next round. So that was kind of a cool deal.
Hey, we usually see each other at the end of May at the Omaha Sports Commission Awards night out there in Elkhorn. Before they put out the categories, I'm going to give you a question. Local sports teams, you can only vote for one. Who had the best season? Omaha hockey, Nebraska men or women's basketball, or Creighton men's or women's basketball?
Oh, man, that is a tough question. And that's one obviously going to be debated. On paper, you'd say, well, Creighton, because they made it the furthest, but given into relation to what they were expected to do before the season, I don't know. And what they were able to do and where they were at mid-season, I'd say I would think that you'd have the Husker men and the hockey team. Because hockey team people forget that hockey team is almost dead in the water right at the end after the new year. And they went on a run. Hockey fans know it, but they went on this run where they were almost unbeatable and to get into the tournament. So, the way that the hockey season ended, and they had that game. That game was totally in their control, and that's one of the things that just stings because it shouldn't have ended that way, but it did, and that's part of sports. Where you flip with the Husker men, it's like, well, you know what? They were in it for about 6 minutes, but they were just trading baskets, and it was like a pickup game. And then Texas A&M was like, you know what? I think this is where you guys go away. And Texas A&M just kind of forced their will on Nebraska. So that UNO's hockey team had, I thought, a better showing in the tournament. So I don't know. I think that maybe hockey might not for what they were able to do, but I would certainly not argue. You could make an argument for all those teams you mentioned, and hoops is another one. That men's hoops for Nebraska, definitely one of them. Now, everything in the aftermath now, guys. Now this is starting to get a little weird with all the portal things, but I think that's just the world we live in. I looked at a stat this morning, over 1,000 players in the men's basketball portal since it's opened. I mean, it's just head scratching. I don't know where all these people are going to find teams to play for, but we'll see.
Could we, if Gary asks you that question as the Omaha Sports Commission has the awards, could we look at two baseball teams playing tonight as a candidate for the 24 team?
Yeah, no question. I think they're off to, I was looking at some numbers today because quite honestly, like today, I know they've been playing, they've got 20, 25 games under their belts right now. But really, once Nebraska plays Creighton, it's almost like Christmas Day in the NBA. Yeah, they've been playing for a couple months. But really the season is here. They're not competing with a whole lot anymore. Both of these teams have jumped out to such impressive starts. And I would think that this is one of the more anticipated regular season matchups we've had in years. I remember when the new stadium, not so new anymore, but when it opened, that was a point of view. You had to be live, both shows and the whole bit. And the last couple of years, it's just lost some juice off the fastball. Now, I think tonight's a pretty impressive in terms of on paper a matchup, and the way that they've been playing going into it has been incredible. They've been banging the leather off the ball and finding ways to win games, and it's going to make baseball relevant around here more than just who's coming to Omaha. Now we've got a couple reasons to watch the local teams play, and tonight's, I think, that's going to be the first of a couple of great matchups this year between the two local teams, between the two local teams, Creighton and Nebraska, that is.
Andy Kennedy from KTV joining us. Hey, so an open records request that KTV did got you the text messages between the governor, Board of Regents, to Trev that aired the other night. Are you surprised that the people that were sending the text messages didn't fight this open records request?
I'm not sure what the backstory with that is. And I would think that they would put up a little bit more of a fight. There's not a good look, obviously.
No.
But there's only certain things that you can do, right? But, Aaron Haggerty, our reporter, put in for the open records request, and we got it. I think it dropped at like 4:00 on a Friday. And so, I was almost surprised at the level of desperation of the text pleading with Trev to stay. That, I guess, I understand that he's a key component to all of this, but that was pretty interesting. And I'm glad to see that I share things in common with the governor, because I don't write clean text either. So my punctuation can be challenged as well. So, it was interesting, and it's interesting what came out of it, the pleas from the regents and the governor for Trev to stay. And I think now that we've got some distance between it, I would love to see a survey of Husker fans seeing what the temperature is right now. Troy Dannon really knocked it out of the park with his news conference last week, and now the big question is his approach to NIL, which I know he fully embraces, and now what happens with that stadium renovation project, because I think that's the really big thing that came out of the news conference. That when he asked, "Does that help winning?" We'll see. Would you spend all these millions of dollars on a stadium renovation project, or you spend it on a couple skill position players and a left tackle? That's the question that we're facing. Really, that's what we're facing these days, and it's a sad reality of where we're headed in college athletics. And I do think too that one of the things that Troy Dana said is that the college game is morphing into the NFL game, and for good, bad, or whatever it is, that's the way we're going. And you better be on board with some of the changes, or else you're going to be left behind, which I thought was an interesting approach, and sure raises some questions in terms of that stadium renovation project. I would be surprised if it continues in its current form. Obviously, having sat in South Stadium before, it does desperately need some kind of renovation. What that is, that's left for people smarter than me. That's for
sure. Andy, he asked the question, will it help us win? He asked that question, will this help us win? And if so, then you're going to look into that and you're going to try to go forward with it. In the day and age of NIL versus stadium projects and where to put your main dollars at, do you think a new stadium project helps Nebraska become a winner, even more so than what you hope they are this upcoming season?
Well, I think you can make an argument for, because it's going to make your fans it would encourage fans to go to the stadium a little more than knowing what you're getting yourself into in South Stadium. That's for sure. I mean, it is a challenge to sit in that South Stadium if you're anyone, really. I mean, because you got to kind of be strategic in everything you do when you sit in South Stadium. When do I get my food? When do I take a leak? And when am I going to make that long trek up? And it's an interesting deal. I think there's got to be some form of renovation for that South Stadium. What that is, I'm not sure. Does it cost $450 million? I don't know. But I would hope that they figure out a way to appease both sides. Because having been to some of the stadiums around every stadium in the Big Ten, I've seen the good and the bad, and I think Nebraska really does need some upgrades in that respect, and especially in that one area.
Yeah, especially after, we've been to Iowa City and Madison of late and seen what they've done
100%.
in their end zone.
100%. Yeah, you see some of these new stadiums, and you see some of the stadiums look at Minnesota. Minnesota has sneakily one of the best stadiums in the Big Ten. It is a perfect college venue. And it's got all the modern amenities and what have you. And I think that's lent to some of the recent success for Minnesota. So I think to say you can't do one without the other is a little bit short-sighted. I just don't know how you can spread the wealth accordingly to get everything you want done. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's why this next couple months are going to be really interesting to see what comes out of the new regime in terms of what they want accomplished.
Yep, I agree. AK, great to see you. Great to hear from you. Take care. We'll see you out and about this week.
Thanks, boys. And talk to the orthodontist. Not for me.
Oh, have fun.
Good luck to her.
Yeah, thanks.
That's Andy Kennedy from KTV. There you go. That'd be a good question. Are you going to spend $450 million on a stadium or money on players that will guarantee you at least one championship and no more than that? But you will not touch the stadium, and the stadium stays as is.
Give me the championship.
One championship. There's no guarantee after that. Your stadium's going to still be the same.
Give me the championship. Mm-hmm. There's no guarantee that as far as if you go with a new stadium, that's going to lead to a championship. So if you can guarantee me a championship with the money that goes into players, I'll take that.
I'll tell you, if they could build a Husker town right across the street from Memorial Stadium, it would, and they had the ability to do that, this project would move along quicker.
That would be awesome.
No Dongtown, Husker town. And if
stay out of Dongtown.
If they had a place to play for a year or two, you just tear the stadium down and go over and build in that huge lot that is across the street from the entrance to Haymarket Park where they park cars now.
Yeah, if you want to upgrade the ballpark, though, then you can call that, and you could build around that, call it Dongtown. Yeah.
I want you tonight when somebody hits a home run to call,
Dongtown!
Take a trip around Dongtown.
You know what?
Are you going to?
I just might, because it's a dong. Whatever you want to think of what you consider a dong that's your business. A home run, it's a dong, baby.
If it goes back to back, do you say it's a ding dong?
Ding dong. It's a double dong.
See you tomorrow. That's on you. See you tomorrow at 6.